3 o'clock on this Tuesday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame show along with Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Thank you so much for being on board with us. Lots to get to on today's program. Coach Shane Beamer has spoken today. So I have a couple of his football players ahead of a really big matchup. Saturday afternoon, high noon kickoff.
Here we have some visitors for it.
A little bit. Yeah. TV and whatnot.
Yeah.
Coming
and a
in.
very famous dog.
That's right. Did I see some people giving Kirk crap about the dog?
Unfortunately.
Come on.
If that's not the most 2024 thing
What's
you've
the
ever
matter
seen.
with people? It's a dog.
Soulless.
What did the dog do to you?
Soulless.
Stop showing pictures of the dog.
Honestly, we didn't have enough pictures of the dog. There are not enough shots of Ben Herbstreit during these games.
I want
more shots of Ben while they're talking instead of seeing them talk. I just want to see Kirk's dog.
I want a headset on the dog. And if the dog is doing nothing but going, I want to hear that.
Immediately enhances the broadcast. That's no shade.
You give him a milk bone, I want to hear the crunch.
Yes, absolutely. There needs to be more dog content. I want him to do the coin toss, actually, for being honest.
Whatever, go get the tea.
Yeah.
I know they got some dogs that do that. Whatever it takes.
I was in for a dog cam, like just the whole time.
Dog
Just
cam,
put it right there on the whole time.
An alternate stream.
Just sit up there.
the whole time.
ESPN Plus. Like, that would do
And,
numbers.
and it had some way you can crash into the people that complained about it, and that's all they could watch.
Might be
It's just a dog cam.
Sometimes it's going to be a shot of Kirk's shoes, the carpet in a press box. The other voice you hear, of course, is our good friend Ryan Brewer. Speaking of guests and dogs, of course, Ryan doesn't have dogs. Ryan has small horses that masquerade as dogs.
You got that dog in him.
Yeah, but you got big Great Danes. How they doing?
They are they're great. And
and they are
but
Danes.
they are
Unintended.
Danes. But my young one is a handful, and then some for sure. But he's getting a little
The
better.
dog.
He's getting better.
Not-
My youngest dog. But he's one of those, like, he's the most athletic Great Dane I've had. I can literally hold like a bone or something above my head, and he can hit his head on an 8-foot ceiling.
Nice.
When he jumps up. He jumps on all fours. Most Danes just jump up, hind legs are still on the ground. Not this guy.
Monthly food bill for your two Great Danes is
I usually just get a pallet of dog food. I literally took the local dog food place down the road here.
they just bring
I've
a
asked for
truck.
a pallet, so
They just bring a truck.
oh, Ryan's here again.
Like when you have construction, and you need like sand for backfill or rocks.
the forklift grabs it and puts it in the back of my truck.
Put it in the back.
It's a lot of dog food.
That's good. That's
The
good.
problem is the output. The input's one thing. The output's easy.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Sure. Well, as long as they keep it out of the pool.
It's out of the pool.
That's good. So
They don't like to swim, so.
You should bring him in here one day. We'll do that, and they can walk.
I could
around.
bring Diesel in for sure. He would not bother you. Troy with this place, his tail, you got to realize his tail's, this is a high desk.
Yeah.
His tail would come through here
yeah.
and knock your computer screens over.
Yeah. The engineer would love that.
Yeah.
Let's give Ed more to do.
That's right. Let's make him busy.
Yeah. There's no. Again. What did we talk about yesterday? There's seemingly no official prohibition on football nudity in the rule book. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any official prohibition on dogs in our studio.
I'm telling you,
Until that happens.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Until
That's why laws are made. That's how they're
until
made.
there's precedent. I mean, like, look, if the movie Air Bud taught you anything, it's that, to quote the movie, there ain't no rule that says a dog can't play basketball. So
Truth.
This is a nice, fun lesson on fine print.
Yeah, I'll have to rewatch that for that quote for sure.
Well, I mean, Nick Saban was doing like.
Is how many air buds are there? Or whatever?
there's a few.
There's like 5 or 6.
There's a
You
few.
just quoted
at
one of
this
those.
The kids.
Is that like top 10 movie for you there?
Well, the picture of that quote, the closed captioning is my profile picture for my PlayStation account. Okay. So it really spoke to me.
What was help me out, the precursor to Zoom and all that Nick Skype.
Skype.
Yeah.
Skype really fumbled the bag, man, during the pandemic. They could have really took off.
Well,
but-
Saban was doing Skype calls because there was no prohibition against that until somebody said, well, he's like, hey, I looked in the book and it didn't say we couldn't do this when I wanted to talk to a recruit.
That's right.
Savvy.
The best in the business know how to bend the rules to their will. Maybe
Yes.
not necessarily break them, but bend them to benefit them the best.
That's what counts. Ryan is here, of course, and I'll do the intro. The former Gamecock running back, wide receiver, punt returner, kick returner, special teams gunner, team captain, husband, father, coach, business owner, and Michigan hater, and many other things. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome.
Okay. Now
it's a big time.
I know how much the program means to you. I know how much the University of South Carolina means to you. We all appreciate that, but I need you. I've known you a long time now, so I need total honesty. Your level of surprise at what happened in terms of total result on Saturday in Lexington, from a 1 to 10, on 10 being what? Was what?
9.5.
Okay.
Like, I mean, it's. I sat in here last Tuesday and truly believed we could win this ball game.
Uh-huh.
I did not sit in here and truly believe we'd whip the crap out of the Wildcats. I did not. I thought this would be
I'm not sure you should have.
No, I mean, this would be a tough game, and something's going to have to, work for us. And it did. We had some opportunities we could have really, struggled with some turnovers that didn't happen. A couple fumbles that we jumped on ourselves, and us having turnovers and things like that could have really shifted this game. But there's no way in my mind I thought halftime going into the third quarter that Stoops and the Wildcats pretty much were like, we have no answer. We have nothing. We don't know what to do. They were deflated. The coaches, staff, everybody, players, they had no answer for that defense. They should have gone to the, freshman quarterback or the transfer quarterback earlier and maybe run some Wildcat and try to do something different then. But they had nothing for this defense, man. They had no idea that we were coming at them that hot every play.
No. I'm going to steal a question that Elijah asked me yesterday. Okay. He asked, in my career, could I recall a team doing what you just mentioned, where a team basically did literally just give up on their passing game? Now, you've seen them have to go to one thing or another. Typically, of course, when you're down that much, it's, all we can do is throw. They basically didn't just give up on throwing, but in effect, I told Elijah, they kind of just gave up on the game.
Yeah, they had some good run plays. And they were hitting some pretty good 8, 10 yard, they had 12 yard, good run plays. And they just, anytime they dropped back, they were getting hit one way or the other. I mean, and you can talk about it to death, but Stewart running through three guys and making a play and aggravated that he didn't make a sack on it, but still made it maybe an incomplete pass, was one of the coolest plays of the game I've seen in a long time.
It's a video game play.
It is.
Man.
It's like there's no way that just happened.
Yeah.
And it's just like that. I think just they're going mentally. That right tackle's got to be going. I don't know what to do. Yeah, coach. Hey, what do you see? How can we protect better? I can't. Right. I just can't, coach. That's. So let's just abandon the pass altogether. And when you do throw it, you get a pick six, or then later in the game throw another interception, because once you get hit that many times or pressed that many times, all you hear and feel are footsteps and people coming at you. And it just changes the whole perspective. And if you can't get out and change the pocket and Vandergrift, whatever, he's not doing that. He wasn't changing. So it was so much fun to watch us being on that side of it. And then special teams, Kai Kroger's probably not getting nearly enough credit for what he did with his punting game and changing the field and letting that defense work that way.
52 yards per punt.
And that just, when your offense still isn't clicking on all cylinders and being able to change the field and you have a defense like that, I thought about it. I love offense. I do. I would love to have a great running game. I would love to be scoring 50 points a game. But for some reason, it is a lot of fun to watch a really talented defense do what they're doing. Yeah.
It's easy to watch the South Carolina defense do what they did to Kentucky and understand just on the surface what it does to Kentucky's offense. Like, for instance, that drive where Kentucky did nothing but go backwards because all they can do is hold on these pass block attempts and pass protection, where they got down to their 1 yard line because they committed 2 or 3 straight holding penalties, and they got away with more than what was even called for because they just had no chance to keep Dylan Stewart or Kyle Kennard out of the backfield. But one thing I asked Nick Emenwari after the game was how easy that's making it on the secondary, because even on the plays that Vandergrift was able to get the ball out of his hands and not meet God after getting hit back there, they were still able to make plays, and Nick had the pick six, and he just mentioned how easy it is for the back end to look a whole lot better when that type of pressure is happening. How much of that do you think is sustainable, just based off what you saw in that game and how good that could be for the secondary as well?
It changes the whole game plan for the secondary. You don't have to, when you're covering a guy for 1, 2, 3 seconds, it's pretty easy. You start going 4 or 5 seconds, or more, it's hard. You can't do it. It's almost impossible. It takes out double moves. It takes, pretty much all you can stay facing up on a guy. You're waiting for quick game, which LSU does a lot of, quick game screens, stuff like that. You can stay in front. The pressure's coming on them, so you don't have to really worry too much about getting beat you still have to worry about a quick fade and stuff like that, but you can pretty much see the whole field in front of you now as a DB, especially as a safety, and not have to worry about that. And it just changes your whole game plan. Now you got a different offensive line coming this week. I still think Kentucky's offensive line isn't bad by any means. We made them look bad. I don't know if we can make LSU's O-line look bad. That is almost, I think, it's like, hey, where do you go from here? Well, like Coach Beamer was saying today, this is the best offensive line that you're ever going to face. They've only given up 3 sacks out of the left tackles. Get them 3 sacks out. What's the number? 1,700 snaps. Or something?
1,700 snaps. 3 sacks and 1,700.
There's no
snaps.
way it's even 1,700 snaps, right?
Probably not. No, there's probably some rounding involved in there, but one of those was a scramble. So really 2 sacks on.
So I mean, if your DNs that are having already 2 games in, great season. That's something. All right, how do you motivate yourself and keep getting better and better? Well, this guy says I can't get a sack against him. Well, I'll prove him wrong. And that's type things. And now you have these internal games going on and trying to get better here. But it's, if you give a quarterback time, it makes it a heck of a lot harder on a DB. You rush them like that, those DBs are licking their chops saying, I'm going to get picks left and right. And that's what's happening. It creates turnovers, not just interceptions. It's just now we're rushing the play, we're fumbling, all that sorts of things start happening. That's why our defense right now is, knock on wood, doing a great job.
We got a lot to get to with Ryan. Again, Carolina and LSU coming up on Saturday. The line is now, at least at ESPN Bet. I've actually seen it as low as 6.5. ESPN Bet, which is now what we're using here on the program.
The official sports book of the Postgame.
That's right. Is now at 7, but it did open at 8.5. And Shane Beamer today, amongst the many things that he had to say, and you were there paraphrasing here, but you can expound real quick. Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Yes, definitely. There was a whole lot of talk today. I think that's kind of the theme of the entire presser is how you're managing, that type of success a week after, the Old Dominion game where the conversation's completely different.
Yeah, we were talking about it off air, and that's like, Coach Holtz always said, don't look at the press clippings, which I don't know what press clippings now are, what your social media post, or don't read
virtual press clippings.
Back in the day, Lou used to take them, like he would cut them out of the paper.
Yeah, and that's a little scrapbook. Don't read this, okay?
Sure.
Yeah. So it's that's part of it, though. I mean, you got to stay hungry and trying to find a way, but you can't. That's the thing. So LSU, from what happened to them with USC, and then yes, they beat Nicholls State or whatever, but it was. Some bad things happened in that game, or some things that they need to work on. It was close
until the 4th.
Yeah, so I mean, they're going to be hungry. They're going to come in here and try to prove a point. It's game day to them as well. It may not be their home turf, but they're going to come in here trying to prove a point. So we got to stay hungry and try to show that, hey, this is for real. This isn't 2 games of just a fluke defensively, and now our offense has to grow. We got to keep getting baby steps here and there, and just. But if our defense is playing like it is, our offense doesn't have to do a lot. We don't have to force the ball. Don't have to force, try to do trick plays or anything silly. Just we're trying to move the ball, pin them in, let our defense do what they got to do, and then when you get opportunities to take advantage of them.
Right.
And that's what I feel like we did Saturday.
I want to come back with more of that offensive progression and what you did and didn't like. Obviously, we saw some good in terms of, percentage completion relative to what we saw against ODU. And I want to come back to something with Coach Holtz and you guys back in the day as well. It's BREWSDAY here on the post-game show. Ryan with us for the entire 3 o'clock hour, talking Gamecocks, get into a few other things with him. Always want to hear from you as well, 803-404-6100. Throughout the afternoon, we'll have some more sound from Shane and the players. Look back at last night's game, again, the New York Jets. I didn't know they had a second team in New York, but apparently they do.
Jets, Jets.
Yeah, I knew they had the Giants. I didn't realize that they had 2 teams in New York. So
I thought they went by the Mets.
Yeah, I don't know. And speaking of baseball, I know you boys are Reds fans and I am not, but ugh.
Sorry, but not.
Ugh.
We don't have many
1-0? What is this, 1912?
It's a soccer score. That's 1-0 to you.
I'll take it if it's that. But
brutal. A Reds pitching staff that's been beaten up all year, too. Let that one sink in.
Oh, I did. It sank. Yeah. Dropped like a stone. Lots more to do on BREWSDAY. You're listening to the postgame show. Love telling you about our good friends at Palmetto Propane and their Palmetto Propane Hearth and Patio Home Store showrooms. You know, Palmetto Propane has been doing what they do, which is primarily delivering propane to homes and businesses and farms all across South Carolina since 1959. But for many years now, the Hearth and Patio Home Store showrooms have let you see what else they do. The full range of products that include things like gas logs for the inside, grills, the amazing Rinnai tankless water heaters, which I always say, get one, thank me later. Gas lanterns, generators, outdoor fire features, and so much more. In addition to a fantastic selection of products, Palmetto Propane is also known for the expertise and experience of its trusted service technicians. They provide exceptional service you can count on from installation and service throughout the life of your products. They've got stores for you all across the I-20 corridor, Aiken, West Columbia, Batesbury, Lexington, and Augusta. Check them out online. Find a store near you, palmettopropane.com. Welcome back into the postgame show on this Tuesday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell, our good friend Ryan Brewer hanging out. It's BREWSDAY on the postgame show. It will be each and every Tuesday throughout the course of the football season. Just got off the horn during the commercial break with Associate AD Jeff Crane back in town now, the football administrator, taking over for, well, I guess taking over for Chance Miller. Kind of.
Yeah,
That's basically what it was, even though Jeff was here for a long, long time, very good at what he does. Now back after a few years working over at University of Memphis. But Jeff will be with us coming up, and you'll want to hear this. Phone the neighbors, wake the kids in about an hour. Jeff has full logistical details for game day's appearance on Saturday. So a lot of you, we know game
full.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Not all of it, right?
Well,
speaker.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know if he's going to be telling us. I think logistically, in the standpoint of where you need to be, where they will be, et cetera, in terms of the guest picker.
So where I can sleep.
Is it going to be you?
I can't tell you that yet.
Oh, I see.
See, he's waiting for Jeff to say it on air. That way he
That's what I was
can
wondering. Should I
finally
stay?
talk about it. Yeah.
416. Just tell them, get the cat out of the bag right away.
Hey, whatever you need to do.
An extended bruise day.
Yeah, extended bruise day.
Whatever you need to do. But Jeff will be with us in about an hour. So if you're wondering what exactly is going to be going on, minus the celebrity picker.
I just want to know where to put my tent because it's going to be pretty early to get there.
It is. Do you park over that way?
I'll find a way. Yes.
You got a big truck. What are they going to do?
Well, I'm sure they can figure something out, but yeah, I'll be sleeping, hiding somewhere.
Just keep driving, man. Again, what are they going to do?
I'm excited, man. This is exciting.
Yes.
We got nothing game day for our noon games, a little different.
It is.
Just got to get up a little early and get going a little earlier, and then don't expect to see the night games.
Right. Yeah, that is typically
just
the
go ahead
drawback.
and put that in my mind and everybody else's. Don't worry about the night game. Just worry about this noon game.
That's fair.
Hey, thankfully for this week, it's not a killer night slate. It really is. Maybe one of the most intriguing game, like in the nighttime slate, is Kentucky, Georgia, and that one is going to be a public execution. So it might be great for the kids not to watch that.
What time is Bama, Wisconsin?
That one, I think, might be the big noon kickoff game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Noon games don't make sense, so don't say that. They make no sense at all.
Nah, I get it. But you grew up in Big Ten country. They love them some noon kickoffs.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't make sense.
Which again, I'll say just like I did with the Braves Reds score from last night. Is this 1912?
You know what they should do for Big Ten, for the Big Ten, big noon kickoff? For games that are on the West Coast, play them at noon Eastern time, just so they can get a real glimpse of what real life in the Big Ten is.
It's fair.
If big noon kickoff's here, we're going to play your games, Southern Cal.
I don't know if it's an apples to apples question to ask, but I'm going to ask it anyway because you mentioned Coach Holtz and don't read the press clippings and stuff. But obviously, the big win over Georgia in week 2 in 2000 was, I don't want to equate what Carolina did last week with that directly because it was a very different vibe. But nevertheless, it was a big win, and it took you all to 2-0, and it was unexpected in terms of how it went down. What do you remember most about Lou telling y'all, say, when you got back to practice on Monday? Not post game, but like Monday, Tuesday.
I don't remember anything. So Coach Holtz was not one of those that no matter he wasn't going to pump you up. He more or less beat you down to try to see how you can crawl your way back out of the hole type guy. It was a great win type deal, but y'all could have done better. Really, when we watched film, all we watched were our negative plays.
Yeah.
Like, this is what you did wrong. Don't do this again type stuff. And it's like, and that's, that's kind of part of it. You're sweating every day when you go into there, like, all right, what I do wrong, what I would do wrong. First thing you do is I graded out a winner. Okay, good. They can't yell at me about that. I hustled. I did everything I was supposed to do. Now, if you had a drop pass that day or if you missed a block and got someone blown up, you're not going to hear the end of it. It's going to be rewound 100 times and just showing don't ever do this. You're the wrong angle, the wrong steps. You did this wrong. You did that wrong. And it's like, so that's in my mind, that's all I ever remember. And that's, because that's how it motivated me. Yeah. I did not want to go in the film room and be embarrassed. Right. That was motivation enough for me on the football
that's
field.
Fair, man. I
that's how, the fear of failure is some kind can be a motivator. But Coach Holtz wasn't big on even at the end of the game, he wasn't, hey, this is it was a quick, great game, shower, let's get ready to go back to work type deal. And it's how he worked. And, no matter how motivational speech you hear, or the books you read or whatever from Coach, he wasn't big in that in the locker room with us. He got excited. He was, about that, but it was never, we're on to the next one. That game's over.
Yeah. That makes sense. Did Phil ever get yelled at?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not a lot, but yeah, he did.
Yeah. I should know if like Lou would spare the quarterback and the rest of you were fair game.
No, I mean he was equal opportunist.
That's good.
Most of the time, there were some guys he had some favorites and whatever, but he'd let them have it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. So
When it comes to this team, we were talking off air about a lot of things here, but Carolina defense 11 tackles for loss. That was good news. Bad news: Kentucky defense 12 tackles for loss. And I know you and Elijah talked about Elijah's stat that he's seizing upon. Carolina's average third down play was 3rd and 12.
yeah, that was surprising.
Yeah, that can't continue. But the 12 tackles for loss is still a very big concern in terms of what you're looking at up front.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's it's one of those. Hey, yeah, we won 31-6, so you're like we obviously did better. But with the grading, and I heard you hear all the numbers of the whatever your
PFF.
the PFF numbers y'all throw out there with 60s and 64s and all that. So they're going, did the guy block the guy or not? Was there a hole?
All I know is Dylan Stewart is grading the best of any player in America so far.
That's a great number. Everybody else's numbers I really don't care about. That just you can stay with those. If it's 97, 98, tell me about it. If it's 60s and stuff like that, that's a C. That's a low C, man. I don't want to hear about that crap. Like, tell me they did average. Who cares? If your kid came home with a 64, would you be like, hey, that was pretty good? No. That was a low C. Let's get better.
Yeah.
So we have work to do. 12 tackles for loss, not good. Some of those were the strip sacks. Those are tackle for loss too, or not the strips, the fumbles. Some of those it could have been step ups and thrown aways or whatever. There's some things timing wise. I think quarterback's still working on. We're missing a couple blocks, but all in all though, there were some holes there. There was some good running plays, design plays. The first touchdown to Bennett was a great design, flow one way. Then you got, two flat, shallow, mid level. Then you got the guy running the safety off, and luckily two guys bit with him. Just when you turn, I'm sure when Sellers turned around, bootleg's like, oh man, he's almost too open.
Right.
What do I do? Like you could tell, and even Bennett was like, oh my gosh, I'm too open. Like the catch.
It is one of those plays because the way Lenoris throws it too, it's like I'm just going to float it over there.
Instead of just zipping it to him. So now you had too much time to think about catching it. So now I'm bobbling a little bit. But it's just we got to clean that stuff up. And I'm going to go from last week. I knew that wasn't how this offense is going to operate. I still don't think this is how that offense is going to operate. I think they are a team. They are a unit that's going to keep getting better week in, week out. And this is a huge one here. Another because I don't as much as great as our defense is doing. They can't just sustain that. I don't think every game. So there's going to be laws. There's going to be when you're playing against the number one tackle, number two great tackles or whatever offensive line that you can't get the pressures all the time. You can't get the turnovers all the time. So our offense is going to have to step up. Do I think they have to win us a game right now? I don't think so. Maybe get us in position to hit a field goal, stuff like that. Maybe at the end of this one.
Right.
But I still don't think we're there yet because I think our offense, special teams, can do enough to where we just stay in it and don't do anything, too crazy turnover-wise. We'll be okay. But we got to stop the 3rd and 12. That's crazy. 0 for 6 in the first third downs. Can't do that.
And only 3 for 10 for the day.
Which means there were 3 for 4 of the last ones, but the last ones weren't 3rd and 12.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like you just got to start off like going. The first pass of it was, I believe, to Brown. Even that was hot and high. The crossing route coming. It was that right there. It was a great. You don't think about it coming across like that, going that speed, catching the ball that high. That's a good catch. And then going away. Now, so one for Sellers too. So okay, he caught it. Calm it down a little bit. And you can tell he started calming down a little bit as the game went on. And he even said in his presser that it's starting to come to him. So that's a good sign as well.
And in terms of the LSU offense, and we'll talk more about this, but Will Campbell at the left tackle, Emory Jones at right tackle, 2 of the top 50 players in the country in terms of their grades. So that's what you're going up against when it comes to the Carolina defense. So you do.
Well, they're going to be in the 60s this week. Okay.
There you go. Whatever it takes.
C's.
Which
you guys were saying is a decent grade. I don't think that's a decent grade.
Oh, I don't say
if you put the LSU O-line in the C grade, I think we'll be okay, right?
Yes, I think.
Certainly.
I think that's. But again, it's PFF. I don't know how they come up with all that kind of stuff. More to do with Ryan when the post-game show returns. We tell you about our good friends at Cato's Power Equipment. Fall is nearly upon us. I guess sometime next week officially, right? Give or take. And that means it's time to start thinking about how you keep the lawn looking nice and clean. Yes, you can always cut it, but you've also got to find a way to get rid of the leaves, the straw. Now, you can bag it when you're cutting. That helps. I've done that before, but sometimes you don't need to cut the grass again. Get in for some great deals on steel backpack blowers, $50 off. They've got a lot of great things for you, from battery-powered to electric to gas to big, giant things that you can use, especially for those of you in the commercial side of keeping yards nice and clean. So whether you cut your own backyard or you blow your own backyard or you do it for a living, see Cato's for excellent sales, service, and advice. Service especially. Listen, you got some things that are a little wonky right now. Well, get into Cato's and get on to the next job a whole lot quicker. Family owned since 1983. Historically located at 4012 West Beltline Boulevard and always online at catospowerequipment.com. Talking Gamecock football on this Tuesday as we get ready for the LSU Tigers coming to town. South Carolina about a touchdown underdog in this one. Game day is coming. Again, remind you that in just under an hour, around 4:15 or so, Jeff Crane, Associate Athletics Director, Football Administrator, will join us with as many things, since Ryan pressed me on this earlier. You know, like, does he have all of the details? No. Most of the details.
Which is why you have to listen to find out. Maybe he does.
Well, maybe he does. I don't know. I mean, that's true.
You're speculating.
Well, that's true.
Might be jumping the gun there. That's 5 yards. That's false start there, Jay Phillips.
Well, let's see. I just called the timeout. I got the play clock down to 1. I've called the timeout. So
I don't think you rewind what you just said.
In 40 minutes, I'll let you know.
Yeah, good
The
thing
button is gone. That 7 seconds or whatever it is passed.
Good thing no one's recording this, right?
Yeah. That's right, yes. But Jeff will join us. We know it's Gamecock Park, but if you want more details on what you need to do and where you need to be and all of those things,
We have it here.
we will have it for you somewhat exclusively in just a little bit. So looking forward to that. But talking to Ryan about a lot of things around this LSU game.
And Ryan, you made a really good point earlier
Thanks.
this hour. You're very welcome. Yeah, a fine point. Yes, a fine
No,
point.
I said finally.
Yes.
But that's a
But-
topic for another day.
But about like the offense, right? Like they don't have to be 2019 LSU or 2020 Alabama, right? Like they have to be kind of just good enough. And I think the passing game was at least good enough. There were some errors, like the interception you'd like to have back. Early plays where you're not putting yourself in 3rd and 12 situations, you'd like to have back. But when they got to the end zone and push came to shove, I mean, they scored 3 touchdowns. So there's like a way that this team can be opportunistic, and that looks like that can be a pretty good formula in terms of sustainability. What does that opportunistic play need to look like given just the strengths that you've been able to see from Lenora Sellers in these first 2 games?
I think it's really. I think they did what they had to do in this game, and it's predicated on how the defense is playing, and that's why I think you look at it. Now, they definitely don't want to be 3rd and 12, averaging that. They don't want to be in those situations. They don't want to throw a pick, before the half and stuff. And I think they try to force that a little bit. But at the same time, I think what the coach is looking at, our defense is doing this. We're pinning them in. We don't have to force the ball down the field. We can get to these situations, run the ball, run the clock, and then when we get in the red zone, take care of business. That impressed me more than anything. We weren't kicking field goals. We're putting the ball in the end zone. But that shows what we can do, what we're capable of doing. I think we're going to get into a rock fight. We're going to get into a spot maybe this weekend where our offense is going to have to move the ball, and it's going to have to put points on the board. I think I would love to say this defense, it is sustainable. We're gonna Stewart's going to put pressure on every play. They're going to go back there. The LSU is going to quit and say, no, I'm not throwing the ball anymore. I give up. You take the ball and go home type deal. But that's not realistic. What I think is going to be realistic this week. It happened, and it could happen again, but it's just not something you can sit there and plan on. So they definitely got to find a way for the O-line just to keep growing, getting better, giving protection. And we're dinking and dunking. We're throwing the ball a little bit shorter, which is good. And heck, we got some play designs that are getting people open. And he made one of the best throws, at least it looked like in the game, was probably a bad decision. He had the 3rd down or over the middle to Simon, I think it was, and they had a robber came up and just went right. I think he actually might have got his ring finger on the ball, but that was luckily he launched that a little high too, because if he doesn't, that's a pick. The robber came in there and almost did his job, and so it's just things finding that, seeing those there, finding Sellers got to be able to step up in the pocket, not make mistakes. We cannot turn the ball over against a team like this. So there's a lot of things happening, but to the point is, we're going to have to get better. There's really, the offense is going to have to move the ball. They're going to have to find a way to get positive yards on 1st and 2nd down. That's watching these games is so frustrating when you're running and getting hit behind the sticks. It's just like over and over. It's 2 games now that we got to find a way to get better at that.
We've had a lot of questions. I'm sure you have too from a lot of the people that in the community about Nick Harbor. And I want to hit you with this from what Tim Frisbee said yesterday and get your thoughts. Because you played both running back and wide receiver. Pops said, as a former receiver, there can only be 4 reasons Harbor is not playing as a scholarship player. Better players ahead of him, not running good routes, hasn't grasped the offense, not reading defenses well enough yet. Those reasons will keep you off the field. I might throw in a 5th is, are you catching the football well enough too? But as you process that, going back to your playing days, how do you
What are the other reasons? I'm just saying in general, like that's like the basic reasons of playing the position, right?
Right.
Hey, if you're,
I don't know how many
what are
others
your top
there
reasons
may be.
not being a running back? Can't, isn't holding on to the ball, doesn't find the hole, can't run very fast. There's guys in front of hthem. It's like that's just yeah. It makes sense what he's saying but it's common sense. It's like, hey, yeah, if you're better than the guy in front of you, you're going to play more. If you don't know your routes and you're doing all that, you're going to play more. If you catch, that's part of it. Now going just to this particular player, I don't know the ins and outs of it. Besides, Brown's playing well. He runs crisp routes. He's catching the ball, and we have two young guys out there doing what they got to do. But Harbor's one of those that this wasn't his position coming in. No. He's learning. He's learning every day. I think he's and you got to get, especially this week coming in. LSU likes to play man coverage press in your face. That's hard for bigger guys. Get off the press. It's just harder for guys that aren't very quick laterally. And that's the one thing about being a receiver. You can be a track star and be in whatever you want to be. Once you put the pads on and helmet on, can you run that same speed? But can you run side to side and get off press coverage to make sure you can get people separation? If you can't create separation, then that's a huge deal, especially when you have a young quarterback that's trying to find you. He doesn't want to force the ball with somebody that's hip to hip with someone as well. So, but yeah, it makes sense because it's just it's kind of common sense. If someone's better than you, they're going to play more than you. If someone's doing if you don't know X, Y, and Z, there's no reason to put you out there. But I don't think that's a blanket statement to put for Harbor though. There could be, it's just like Brown's playing well. He has got to find a way to get himself open, make a play, make a splash, get some confidence, and have at it.
And after the first game, that was one thing when Shane was talking about things they could do better on offense. A lot of it's like perimeter blocking. And if it's something like that he's not doing very well, he might not see the field. But one player I did want to bring up, and I had to double check myself too, make sure I didn't read it incorrectly, which is something I do frequently. But Josh Simon, as the tight end, had the highest run blocking grade by like 12 whole points on this team. He caught the touchdown pass, so there's that obvious, football card stat like we like to refer to on here that he had to contribute to the game. But I think when you go into a game against LSU where their defensive line is vulnerable and you got to be able to run the ball just because this might be one of the most runnable defenses that you're going to face in a game of this magnitude. But what do you kind of expect from him and the role that he can play in this offense, not just from like the traditional catching the ball and being a red zone target, but what he can do to help this offensive line get you a little further ahead of the
So Josh Simon was one of, like, last year, I love Josh Simon. I even watching practice coming into last year, I was like, this is a dude. He can play. And it just, and not just running routes. You can see he's crisp. He's knowledge of the game, but he's not afraid to hit you. He's, in 2 games now, I think he's just standout tight end that we've had so far. With blocking, with what he's doing, the chip block that he just launched a dude, last or 2 weeks ago, and now catching touchdown passes and just making plays. He's going to get open. He's a big target. I think he's critical for this game right now. And we obviously have, freshman tight end making good plays. We had 4 guys catch the ball. Yep. Anyway, the whole game.
And it was right? 2 tight ends, Smith and Simon and Brown and Bennett.
Yeah. Okay. So that's
and all had at least 2.
So that, it's just he's finding his targets. He's finding the guys that are, first the guys that are open. Second, the guys are who am I comfortable throwing the ball to, and there's play designs for those guys as well. But Simon's a guy he's making a name for himself, and he's going to be hopefully integral part of the run game because he's not afraid to put his nose in there. He's making space, and that's big, especially if we're going to go on the edge. Now Nichols ran a lot of plays right up the middle on LSU, and I'm not sure how. They had a daggone C just opened up for the guy that looked like me running the ball. I hope I didn't look that slow, but could have.
He did.
Poor man's Ryan Brewer.
Yeah, So, but I was just cheering for him. You got 5 more yards, you can do it, man. 5 more, you can make it. But it's some big plays they gave up. They definitely. So we have a chance to run the ball. Tight end's got to get in there and block, but our O-line's just got to create a little bit of space. But I think Simon's definitely Elijah, a guy that's just making great strides right now.
We'll get more of Ryan's thoughts looking ahead to Saturday afternoon's big game with LSU when the postgame show returns. Welcome back. It's the post-game show on this Tuesday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. It's Brews Day. Speaking of which, and Elijah, you may need to retweet this as well on the station feed. But Ryan,
2 steps ahead of you.
Oh, good. You have already done it. So I don't know which ones we call like A, B, C, but Ryan and his better half, the great Liz Brewer, former Carolina volleyball star Liz Price, y'all might remember that, have put together some fun little graphics for like a Brews Day like logo, I guess is what you would call this. Right?
Yeah, I think that's it.
That official logo for the hour.
I think I prefer, and you need to go to either J Phillips 1075, and you can go to 1075 The Game. You can go to Ryan 21 Brewer. I think I like the one in the garnet uniform. But I know it's radio, so I apologize, and I don't have anything up like to show you on the YouTube channel, so you'll need to go to one of our Twitter feeds to see this.
I really like the animated one in the white jersey. Just as ball security is not. It's
well, you're holding it.
Really ticks me off for some reason. That's just not.
The Bitmoji's holding it like a loaf of bread. I got to do, like, Peanut Tillman don't need to be the one to punch that out. Like,
yeah, Stewart would be, just salving. Watching that right there. I'm getting a fumble right there.
There you
fumble
go.
recovery.
So go vote on that, or, just give us your thoughts. And we'll try to start throwing these out for next week's edition and beyond. Speaking of next week and beyond, and really all the ones prior, every time we have Ryan Brewer in the studio, it's brought to you by the great folks at Ryan Brewer Fence.
Yeah, they are great.
Very helpful.
And they do a great job. So it's any fence needs you have, we can take care of it, from your commercial to residential, from your temporary fence, all types of ornamental. We can make it for you. And obviously, if you have a pool, you have a dog, you need to secure it. Secure is beautiful. But if you go to ryanbrewer.net and or just give us a call, Miss Ann will take care of you. And Casey Moody or Billy or Lane. Lane's still with us. Lane, the old, radio.
Lane
we did the radio, 20 years ago now?
Oh, I didn't want to say how old you are.
Years ago now. But they can all take care of you, and just go ryanbrewer.net, go to Instagram and all that, and see what we can do for you.
Wall art mailboxes and more.
Wall art mailbox. Just did a couple mailboxes last week.
Look at that.
So it's pretty cool stuff, and like I said, I got a great team.
Let's put a Lou Holtz hat on you of sorts, but it's now
the old Carolina block.
But it's now because he had that. Now he had his USC. Remember, because he got paid for all that.
Yes, but he always wore the Carolina.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Oh, the game day, that's true. Yes. But he had a nice little deal with that USC interlocking thing.
Yeah. Kim McGee came up with that right.
Pretty savvy. Lou's a businessman. But it's now Friday night at the hotel. You got a game like this. What's the message? If you're Lou Holtz and you're talking to 2024 Carolina football, how you without the accent?
Okay, good. I'm not going to pull Levitt. Nope, not doing it. Not going to do it.
I'm here to peer pressure you.
Yeah. So this is like the message is pretty simple, guys. It's you don't. We got to figure out a way right now to forget what happened these first 2 games, but also remember the good. Go through and push forward and show that we're for real. Game day didn't come here just for LSU. Game day came here for us as well. This is our town. This is our home, and we got to own it. This is one that right now that's we're talking about the best O-line that you've ever seen. Prove them wrong. Go in there and give them some bad grades and prove these guys no sacks so far this season. You got some hungry young guys out there and some veteran D linemen that let's go in there and prove these guys wrong, control this game, and it's time for young bucks to step up on offense. It's time for us to get this ball moving and figure out what you came here for. We got a lot of stars, a lot of talent on this offensive side of the ball that we brought here that's their time to shine as well. And I think that's part of it. Just keep growing, keep getting better every day. And I think that's what this team kind of mindset is anyway. I think that's what they're doing. They're kind of I think you can even see through the leadership and the quarterback Sellers how he talks, how he presents himself. It's like, hey, I'm getting better. Mm-hmm. I see things a little clearer now, and it's going to get slower. It's going to get better for him, and I think this is another stepping stone. And you're at a team that's going to bring everything they have because they feel like they're better than they are. 1-1 record, and no matter how you look at the last game they played. they still think it's a little slap in the face, kind of like we did against Old Dominion. It was a W, but it wasn't pretty. And they're going to come out here and prove something. We just got to knock them in the face right away, and the crowd's going to be there. It's a noon game, but I really think Williams-Brice can be rocking game day. This is going to be
It is awesome. A sellout. If you didn't hear that, so it's sold out. I think we might have an opportunity later for some tickets or something.
I have not been made privy to this, so I cannot confirm nor deny.
I mean, that's it. I love X and Twitter and seeing the people that you don't really know, like some of the media people saying, "Hey, how awesome Williams-Brice is! I'm glad we're getting to come back here. I've only been there once, and it was the best time ever." And it's like, let's keep that going. It's one of those, because it is.
It is.
When it's going strong, it's unbelievable. And I think we do have a really good home field advantage with that defense. If we can be loud, it makes it so much harder for their offense to operate. And it's all, like you said, we actually have some. I've always said I can't control anything anymore. I can yell. I can keep my voice. I can do whatever. The crowd. The only thing you control is being loud and rowdy and making that offense have a really hard time snapping the ball.
Saturday at noon, we got some game day logistics from Jeff Crane coming up. Ryan 21 Brewer, RyanBrewer.net. Have fun, man.
Yeah, guys, go
Gamecocks.
next week.
All right, hour 2 coming up. Let me tell you about our good friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. Now that the fall is upon us, football season is here, hunting season is here. Maybe it's time for a new vehicle to do one or both of those things. And I'm telling you, there is really no better place than Palmetto Citizens to finance your next vehicle, whatever it might be, whether it is for one of those reasons or, a set of wheels for one of the kids or something new for you. They offer the same low rates on all new to 2021 models and great options for older vehicles, too. Many of them come with no payments for up to 90 days. Plus, on newer vehicles, they can finance over 100% of the retail or purchase price, and they offer additional coverage and insurance options dealerships can't beat. So shop for that new vehicle, then check with Palmetto Citizens and see how much you can save with your car loan, plus all your other banking needs. My wife and I are members. We love them. Think you will, too. Check them out online right now at palmettocitizens.org. 4 o'clock on this Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back in. It's the Postgame Show's second hour. We're coming at you from the Herndon Chevy Studios in downtown Columbia, South Carolina, along with Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Thanks, as always, to Ryan Brewer for hanging out. And, again, if you want to help us pick the BREWSDAY logo, please go to, really, you can go to Ryan's Twitter feed, Ryan20. In fact, you know what? Do us a solid. It's not I'm not here for like Ryan, getting more followers or anything like that. But
I am.
Well, but if you go to Ryan directly, you'll cut out us as the middleman, and then
Well, we did retweet it though, so we will get notifications.
Well, that's true.
Do comment
if you do comment, yeah.
So we are getting notifications.
Yeah.
Like Ben Wilson says the Garnett BREWSDAY, which I think I'm leaning towards as well. We also have another suggestion from our guy Curtis Burns. He says second. I don't know if he means the second photo in sequence, which would be, I guess, the white jersey one. So Curtis, if you're hearing this, please, I was just ask for a little bit of clarification.
Yeah, there's
we are
each
going
one,
to crowdsource this.
There's one is an actual photo of Ryan in a black Carolina jersey. And then there's two that are kind of cartoony. Again, one is white, one is garnet. So I'm with Ben. I'm leaning garnet.
Yeah, the ball security issue with the white jersey just would not be on brand.
Ryan does not. That's really sticking in his craw. Even though it's a cartoon, he's like, I don't like how that ball is just sitting out there like that.
Because the picture that he's photoshopped in is a picture of him toting the rock, carrying the mail, and doing so close to the jersey where it is safely secured and it can't just get punched out.
Right.
My man in the white jersey here, he runs a little too hard, and that ball might be going 5 yards behind him.
But maybe that guy,
Sean Jackson's looking at it and saying, man, that's not good ball.
Maybe he's only got like a yard to go, and it's cool, and he's getting ready to drop it in the end zone.
That's how you drop it before you get into the end zone.
Well, yeah, don't ever
end
do
up
that.
on Sports Center's not top 10.
Don't do that.
Like I said, Deshaun Jackson's looking at that and saying, ooh, poke that rock a little easier, buddy.
Why am I forgetting? Who did that for Carolina a couple years ago? And it was terrible. It was like back in 22.
Oh, man.
Wasn't it?
Maybe. It's not being conjured up in my head.
No, I don't want to. I shouldn't even. Never mind.
Remember Georgia's Mikey Henderson did that against Western Kentucky in the first game of the year, like in 2006, but did it like egregiously, like 2 yards short, like as obvious as I've ever seen one.
I think the good news was for that. No, you know what? Was it at East Carolina, and it didn't end up costing them? Am I right about that?
You might be.
I can't remember now. Some of those things, again, I've seen a lot of football games in my life. They run together sometimes. Somebody will remember and let me know. Anyway, but go to Ryan21 Brewer and tell Ryan which of these three you like, and then he can report back to us ahead of next week.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm kind of I'm not trying to taint the jury pool here, but I'd be leaning toward the garnet one.
Now, if we get a definitive answer before Saturday, I need print these out and we can just pass them along, give them to the College Game Day crew. Maybe
sure.
Have somebody with a sign. I was joking with Ryan before he went on air. Said, hey, look, I mean, you can offer some kid a case of beer and say, hey, can you hold this sign behind the desk, and you have yourself a deal. I mean, we can really propagandize this really well if we put our minds to it.
I know Paul Feinbaum was not thrilled with the choice, and he called it bizarre on Matt Barry's show the other day. I saw the clip. I'm not. Paul's a nice guy. Paul knows he's got to be. He look. Part of what he does is play the heel. But I wonder if he got hollered at by anybody, in Bristol. Like, Paul, bud, we signed your check.
Paul, we're trying our best here.
Yeah, like what? You could be, maybe don't call it bizarre. Bizarre might have been, hey, we're going to. And I don't even.
I'd rather be called quirky and fun than bizarre and weird.
Well, like
words matter, Paul.
Let me go. Hang on a second. Just give me a second here, and I'm going to pick something that I think would be like a bizarre choice for game day. Say, like Arkansas State. No, like Central Michigan and Illinois. That would
truly be bizarre.
That would be odd.
Yeah. San Jose State.
Morgan State at Ohio. Like if they had told us they were doing that, I'd be like, oh, that's an interesting choice.
And I don't even think I would have said bizarre.
Yeah, I don't think I would say bizarre.
Quirky. Fun.
UTEP at Liberty. Gardner-Webb at Charlotte.
Oh, sign me up.
Gardner-Webb's only like an hour from Charlotte. That's kind of like one of those local rivalries.
Is that like a county border? Because that can count as a border war.
Gardner-Webb's probably a couple of counties over.
Okay. The former Fighting Artist Gilmore's, that was his first stop. Transferred before the portal was a thing,
yeah.
like 40 years before it.
South Florida's Southern Miss may be seen as bizarre.
Yeah, that'd be a really weird one. Watching Southern Miss on purpose is a bizarre choice.
So there's that. Regardless, game day is coming to Columbia, South Carolina. And earlier today, Shane Beamer, in his weekly press conference, was asked about Carolina, what it's like to be in the national spotlight.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways the spotlight is back on us, but we've we talked this morning that one of the keys for us this Saturday is we got to handle success the right way and handle some of the, I don't want to say distractions, but there's a lot going on this week that we didn't have to deal with last week, or that we didn't get to deal with last week. It's a positive. We need to get used to it, but we need to make sure that, one, we're handling distractions the right way, and we also have to handle success the right way and realize that, the bandwagon, if you will, is getting full in a lot of ways, and understanding that there's people that are on that bandwagon right now that may jump right off the next time that things don't go well. And really our guys understanding that the key for us is just continuing to just work and continue to get better. And that's what we've talked to our players about. Just keep working, keep getting better. We know there's a lot of things from that Kentucky game that we have to clean up, as good as the score was and how good that score was. And it was. We played really, really well. But we also know that, we played with great effort and physicality and toughness, and that didn't just happen. We prepared last week to go play like we did on Saturday, and that's going to be the key for us, is not get caught up in being in the national spotlight and the hoopla and having Ryan McGee right next door interviewing players and myself for ESPN right now, but instead just worrying about what we can control and go get better and get back to work, which is what we did on Sunday night.
I think like a lot of things, especially, we hear it all the time, right? Hey, once it kicks off, you don't think about all those other things. And that's true, but it is the build up. And I know we'll get into some other cuts where Shane continues to kind of bang that drum of, we just better get better, at what we do, and not worry about anything else. But look, you won by 25 points. You had a pick six. Again, there are some glaring things there that are still big concerns, and this isn't a rain on the parade type of thing. This is reality. Again, you've come up with the stat that I think is very telling. When you had third downs, your average third down was 3rd and 12. Now, there's several reasons for that, but it doesn't change the fact. Again, what you can do to massage that and try to make it work for you. That's what we do with statistics all the time, right? Lies, damn lies, and statistics. But we can, like I said, Carolina defense 11 tackles for loss. Kentucky defense 12 tackles for loss, and you won the game. Let's take the pick six away. You still win comfortably by 18 points. There's no doubt about that. So, again, you'd like to see Rocket Sanders not have, look, I think he had one he averaged 4.2 a carry.
And I don't think he broke above 0 for, yards until his 6th carry.
Right. So, and that's not all on him. Again, he's got to have room. And yet at the same time, we talked about a lot of plays that Dowell dialed up that were executed well, and you did get better. Again, you went from 10 of 23 through the air to 12 of 16 through the air. That's a thing. Mm-hmm. That's a very positive thing. You've got to find a way to continue to take those steps, and there's still a long way to go on offense.
Oh, certainly. I think just the big thing, though, against Kentucky that you can positively take away is kind of that opportunistic football you were able to play. Like, your defense helped put you in advantageous positions to march down the field, a shorter field, and to be able to score, but you got in the red zone 3 times. You scored 3 touchdowns. I think some of that does go back to Dowell Loggins' play calling a little bit. I want to go back to the Josh Simon touchdown where Kentucky's dropping a bunch. They only rushed 3, dropped 8, and they were in a zone. but the linebackers are watching Lenoris as he fakes that pitch to Rocket Sanders. They're waiting for him to either pull it back and then throw it back to Rocket out in the flat and keep the ball ahead of him. But as two different linebackers who are in the vicinity of Josh Simon have their eyes fixated on the either potential pitch or the screen, Josh Simon just kind of slips in behind them, and all Lenoris has to do is layer it over the top, and bam, easy touchdown. If you're able to do that in the red zone, you're going to be able to be good enough, right, to win these football games. What's the one thing against Old Dominion we talked about? Yeah, you moved the ball on a couple of drives, but when you got to the red zone, you didn't do anything with it. You settled for field goals. This time, it was different. I think there's going to be some situational football factors that's really going to mold the public perception of how good this offense really is. And when you look at LSU right now, you look at them as a team that has a hard time stopping the run. And if there's 1 week this year where if you want to really push this season to its potential, winning this very winnable game in a national spotlight, which is not just great for the 2024 Gamecocks, it's great for the 25, 26, 27 Gamecocks. Because you're on this platform, you're going to need that offensive line to be movers of men, because if Nicholls State can do it, surely you can do it a little bit well. And if you can take advantage of that, then you can be as advantageous when it comes to taking advantage of the turnovers your defense can force at any given time.
Yeah, and I'm curious what that film study is like this week in terms of what they're what did they do? What are we not doing? Or is it a matter of who we've played? There's is it our you go back to week 1, you and I talked a lot about it, cohesion and confidence. Was there simply not yet a lot of cohesion up front? And then last week you did play a really stout defensive line. That must be accounted for. It truly must be accounted for as part of the equation. How much of it? I'll let the experts decide all that. I don't know. I know what I saw, and I know what these guys grade out as, and I know that a couple of those Kentucky dudes will be making a lot of money in a very short amount of time, and I don't mean through NIL.
No, Deion Walker will be a top 15 pick maybe.
Yeah.
As an interior defensive lineman, you don't teach that size.
Yeah, you don't build them like that.
No, absolutely not. And that's the one thing I would love to just be a fly on the wall to hear Sean Elliott try to coordinate the run game for this game on Saturday, because if there's any game that you need the run game to help alleviate the pressure on a passing offense that's still a work in progress, this is the one.
Yeah, no question. So much going on Saturday, including game day. On the other side of the break, Carolina Associate Athletics Director and Football Administrator Jeff Crane, who's back in town this summer after a few years at Memphis. He was here for a long time before that, is going to give us as many logistical details as he is privy to at this point. And yes, we will ask him if he has any idea who the guest picker might be, because that seems to be question number 1. But where should you be? Where will they be set up? All the other things around game day ahead of Carolina LSU. Jeff Crane joins us on the other side with all the details. You're listening to the Postgame Show. You been bothered lately by any back pain, neck pain, shoulder, or joint pain? Well, our good friends at The Joint Chiropractic ready to help you get back in the game. Local owners and operators, Janet and Bob Keene, have been around for many, many years, involved in the community, big Carolina fans, and they want you to know that you don't have to feel bad to feel better. An initial visit at The Joint includes a consultation, an exam, and a chiropractic adjustment, and it's just $29. If you've ever wondered, is this right for me? Should I be doing this? Go see what they're all about. Then if you like what you get, then you can get monthly plans. And if you're traveling out-of-town games or for business or anything else, there are locations of The Joint all across America. Here in the Columbia area, they're on Harbison Boulevard. They're on Forest Drive. They're on Roberts Branch, right off of Killian, and Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. Convenient, affordable, maintain a healthy body, prevent reoccurring issues. Again, you don't have to feel bad to feel better at The Joint. Welcome back into the postgame show on this Tuesday afternoon. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you being with us. Still to come, plenty more comments from Coach Beamer. We'll have our drive around the SEC a little bit later on. Finally got a few conference games, but only a few. A couple of them pretty good. Well, one of them is very interesting.
Are you talking A&M Florida?
I am.
Yes, that one is very
In addition to our game here, which is very interesting.
Yes, that one's an anxiety bowl, though. This one, I think it's maybe not as anxious of an anxiety bowl.
Yeah, if the visitor loses, they get anxious.
Oh, because then they're 1-2.
Yeah, so
Lost to a team that lost to Northern Illinois.
There's that.
Super chill.
It is my pleasure to welcome. I say back on. It's been a while since we've had Jeff because Jeff's been living in Memphis, Tennessee, for the last several years, working at the University of Memphis, but is now back at the University of South Carolina, which we're all thrilled about after a very successful run in Columbia before his time in Western Tennessee. He is not only an associate AD, but he is the football administrator, and he's the man who knows what's up when it comes to game day. Good to speak with you again, sir, and on behalf of many, even though you've been back for a few months now, welcome. How are you?
Thanks so much. Appreciate you guys having me. So great to be back in Columbia and be here at the University of South Carolina. Such a special place for so many, and myself and my family included. So really exciting to be back in a part of this program and in this city.
Well, all right. So we all saw, I guess, sometime, early evening, I guess it was Saturday, that the game day was coming to Columbia. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb, Jeff, and say that maybe your phone rang or Coach Tanner's phone rang just a little bit before that. Take us through those quick early steps when somebody from Bristol or Burbank calls to say, hey, can we come to your campus?
Yeah, those are phone calls in our business that you absolutely love to get. And I think we got our first call on maybe it was Thursday or Friday, I want to say, somewhere right in there. ESPN reached out and said, if things fall right for you guys this weekend, then we would love to come to Columbia. So, we were holding our breath, and certainly Coach Beamer and our football program did what they had to do and put a real big exclamation point on that win on Saturday, which sealed the deal for game day to come to Columbia. These are special times. I mean, the energy that fills a city and fills the area surrounding a stadium when ESPN game day is there is just like no other. So we're really excited and excited to welcome lots of students and lots of fans out to Gamecock Park early on Saturday morning.
Now, Jeff, that game was pretty much decided by the time the fourth quarter started. So did you get the call before the game ended, or what? Did they at least give the courtesy of maybe letting Kentucky know that it would not be going to Lexington the following weekend?
Yeah, it wasn't long, I will say. It was not long after that game ended that ESPN reached out, and they turned pretty quick. They were on our campus just after noon on Sunday, so they were ready to roll, and of course we were there and willing and able to accommodate them in any way, trying to make their time here a good one, so they'll come back.
All right, so last time it was here, and for a few times, it's been on the Horseshoe. For a noon kick, that's really not possible. Also, I think the last time you didn't have near the facility across from Williams-Brice in terms of Gamecock Park and Gamecock Village and things like that, Jeff. So we do know Gamecock Park. So now the stage is yours to tell fans exactly where this is going to be and what more they need to know logistically for Saturday morning.
Yeah, so ESPN Game Day will be set up kind of in that second quadrant of grass, if you will, right there on the Tommy Suggs Garnet Way, and we'll be shooting back toward Williams-Brice Stadium. It's going to be just an awesome view. Going to have beautiful trees in the foreground and the stadium in the background. Going to showcase our program in such a great light. So we're really excited to have them at Gamecock Park and for the whole country to see what incredible tailgating that we have here in Columbia. And so we're gonna start early. The the first student shuttle is going to leave the Russell House at 5:45 in the morning. So we'll have breakfast there for the students. Our good friends at Dunkin' Donuts and Bojangles are providing breakfast for students that get there early. And we're opening up all of our parking lots at 6 a.m., something that was important to Coach Tanner. He said, I want to make sure that all of our fans can get here early and participate in this that want to. So we're opening up all of our parking lots starting at 6 a.m. And then that famous ESPN Game Day pit opens at 6:30, and they'll go live from Gamecock Park starting at 7:30. So lots will happen in and around that to be sure. But Gamecock Village, which is our normal fan area, will open at 8. And then the Game Day show goes live starting at 9. And, of course, we'll have Gamecock Walk at 10. So, I would suggest that, for those that might be out and about on Friday night, just come straight from wherever you are and head straight over. It's going to be a party all night and early morning at Gamecock Park and Williams-Brice Stadium, no doubt.
Jeff Crane is with us, Carolina Associate Athletic Director, giving us the logistics on game day for Saturday ahead of Carolina LSU. 5:45 shuttles from Russell House, Jeff. I got a hunch that there will be some kids daring one another successfully to just ride the wave overnight. So
no doubt
they may take you up on that.
Drivers, if you guys are interested in coming over and driving those shuttles, we'd love to have you.
Jeff, I appreciate the offer, but I'm an old man now and I'll be asleep. But I'll get up soon enough. I'll be awake at some point, but probably not to drive a shuttle at 5:45. But somebody out there will do it.
Somebody will.
Yeah.
It's I think you look at what sort of publicity that this brings to our program, and you think about the incredible attendance that we're going to have at this game. Been sold out since yesterday. Selling a game out almost a week prior to is incredible. We've had over 20,000 student tickets requested for this game on Saturday, which is a record for us. So there's just lots of enthusiasm and excitement around this football program and what Coach Beamer's doing, and just an exciting time.
And now I'm going to put on my Big J journalism hat and ask you the most important question of the day, the one everyone wants to know. Do you have any info on who may or may not be the guest picker? And if you don't, and you just don't want to, or you do just don't want to say it, you can just tell me anyway.
You know what? Actually, I don't have any information on that. They ESPN keeps that pretty close to the vest. They have lots of things they consider there. So we'll see. We'll all be surprised together on Saturday.
But we can eliminate you from the possibility, though. You have not been reached out for.
I have not been contacted. Correct.
Okay. Well, we'll at least play process by elimination here.
Yeah. All right.
There you go.
And plenty more info at GamecocksOnline.com for all of this. But again, first student shuttles leaving Russell House at 5:45. All parking lots open at and I know you guys, seriously, Jeff, for just a second, don't have direct control of the fairgrounds parking lot, but I'm assuming that will also be opening at 6 o'clock.
The areas that we control specifically in the fairgrounds will open at 6.
Okay.
So if folks buy their parking pass through the Gamecock Club, then they'll be able to access their fairground space starting at 6.
Okay, and I imagine the fairgrounds will hopefully. I don't want to speak for anybody yet, but hopefully everybody will just kind of follow along accordingly. Well, congratulations on landing this. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years, but it has. And again, man, in all seriousness, good to have you back here in Columbia, you and the family. We know what a tremendous job you did while you were here in your first stint, and looking forward to some big things the next go around. So we'll lean on you again here soon enough. Appreciate it this afternoon, and have fun this weekend, man.
Really appreciate y'all having me. Thanks so much, guys.
You bet.
Go Gamecocks.
There you go. That is Jeff Crane, Associate AD, Football Administrator, back in town. And, man, I mean.
Already making a splash.
Boom.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this. I've never been to a college game day, ever.
It's pretty cool, man. I mean, and I've been when they did it originally down from the fairgrounds. And I don't think they liked that quite as much, but the horseshoe was fun for sure, because the horseshoe was just, and it's right here. It's just such a just a pretty place, and it's very. I will say this much real quick here. I mean, I love my school and I love my city, but Carolina is very spread out. It's a big school, and a lot of it's very urban. But the Horseshoe still has that feel of the olden days, which I like. But you can't do the Horseshoe this time. You can't do it this time. But now we have a really cool place down there that's going to allow them to set up and have a showcase, venue. So that's cool too. I mean, if it was a night game, maybe they do it at the Horseshoe.
Maybe, yeah. It's such a short turnaround. Though,
yeah, you can't do it at the Horseshoe.
The game starts immediately once you cut away from game day. You're going straight to game broadcast.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Logistics matter here.
Yeah, you can't do that. So, but appreciate Jeff's time. Lots more on Gamecock football on the other side. You're listening to the Tuesday postgame show. We've been telling you about our good friends at AAA Heating and Air for a long time. They've done great work at my house, at Bill Gunner's house, and a lot of you listening know what kind of service they provide. Well, now there's something even better going on at AAA Heating and Air. They are on the hunt to find the oldest AC unit in their Midlands service area. You think it could be yours? If you do, it could pay off. AAA Heating and Air's My Oldest AC contest is starting, and you have a chance to win a brand new HVAC system for your home. Head to their website, myoldAir.com. Complete the online entry form. They'll be drawing a winner at random for every 100 entries. It really is that easy. And if you got an old system, they want to get you a new one. myoldAir.com. Register to win from AAA Heating and Air.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to that are causing some issues on the roadways this Tuesday afternoon. We'll start here in Richland County. We have accidents reported on Bluff Road at Highway 48 near Beltline Boulevard, one on Highway 1 at Augusta Road at North Grampian Hills Road, one on Rabin Road at Flora Drive, another one on Spear Creek Church Road near I-20, one on US 176 at Broad River Road near I-20, and one on Windsor Lake Boulevard at Two Notch Road. And in Lexington County, we have accidents on US 321 near Mack Street, one on Highway 6 near Crockett Road, Highway 6 near Highway 602, and Platte Springs Road.
Talking Gamecocks, talking game day. Hadn't gotten into the NFL. Robert Saleh last night, the head coach of the New York Jets.
That's a football team?
It is. I did not know that. Said it's better to be 0-1 with Aaron Rodgers playing a full game than 1-0 when he's not. I think I know what he meant, but
Nope, I don't.
At the same time, always thought the goal of sport was to win the game.
Sounds like he's being heavily flirtatious towards Aaron Rodgers. That's what I say when I want someone to like me like that. I'm like, baby, I'd rather go 0-1 with you than 1-0 with anybody else.
Well, Aaron's pulling down about $800,000 a week, so Aaron will like whoever is signing the check, and I think that's Mr. Johnson.
Yeah,
not Coach Saleh.
he's trying to score points.
In all seriousness, man, how hurt is Christian McCaffrey? This is a thing today across the league.
Well, it's a thing today because there might have been some fibbing on the part of the San Francisco 49ers when it comes to the injury report.
Yeah, well, he wasn't even listed is what I heard this morning. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That he wasn't even on it.
Nope, not until right before the game. They said they were going to hold him out. And Jordan Mason, the running back who filled in admirably for him.
He did great.
Admirably for him. Spilled the beans in a post-game interview on the sideline. He said he was asked when he knew he was going to be the starter, and he said Friday. And then after the game, Kyle Shanahan was asked
didn't like
at the press
that.
conference, and he said, he probably just misinterpreted that. And then Jordan Mason got asked in the press conference after that, and he straight up was like, this is why I don't like talking to the media. I said, buddy, the media didn't do this. You're the one who said it.
Yeah.
You did. Don't act like people are putting words in your mouth that you actually said. You spilled the beans. That's on you. Come on, man.
I did see, though, that was pretty cool. In postgame last night, Jordan Mason had not carried the ball that many times since he was in high school.
And all it took was him to get behind a good offensive line or an offensive line that had Trent Williams, and then he was able to do that. And
well, it's the best. That's the best line in the game, right? I mean, there's some good ones, but they probably have the best line in the game.
They have Trent Williams. Yeah, Trent Williams is a lot.
Who took the summer off. Good for him.
That's right. And you know what? He can step back on that football field like nothing happened.
He was fine.
For anybody that wants to hold out, you need to make sure you're good enough to hold out.
But Niners should be just fine. But, that was, I didn't watch all of it last night. But it was, I didn't expect the Jets to go over there and have a real big chance to win the game. If it was in New York, New Jersey, I would have given them a slightly better chance.
Would have given them a better chance. Here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers looks like a 40-year-old who just tore his Achilles last year. I mean, he had the one deeper touchdown to Allen Lazard, but, when you go back and look at the numbers, the average depth of targets at 7 yards. They didn't stretch the ball down the field, and I don't think they felt confident enough in him to be able to do so because if you have Aaron Rodgers at his fullest capabilities, you'd like to see him let it rip a little bit. They didn't necessarily do that. Offense didn't look great. Niners defense smothered them. And, it's kind of been what Aaron Rodgers has been the last few years when he's been able to complete a season opener. Hasn't played particularly well. Still, 16 more games, sure. But, at the end of the day, they're still the New York Jets.
They are, man. I mean, there's, and I to those few of you who are Jet fans, like I'm sorry.
Hate it for you.
And look, I'm not sitting here trying to be pot calling the kettle black or something. I mean, I know my team's not any good right these days, and the team up the road isn't very good these days. But the Jets are the NFL's symbol of futility.
And that's surpassing the Cleveland Browns, which is not easy to do. That takes effort. That takes dedication, commitment to the bit.
And for people, and I know, again, I mean, I'm 53, but I've said this to you before, Elijah. These Cleveland Browns, and I say these Cleveland Browns that go back to when the Ravens left. The old Cleveland Browns are the Baltimore Ravens, and there was very little drop off when they moved. I know Mr. Modell sold the team, and Mr. Bisciotti is doing a fine job. They've won a couple of Super Bowls. They're run incredibly well. But that's the old Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns that I grew up with, while they never went to the Super Bowl, were always competitive with Pittsburgh in the Central. I know Cincinnati went to a couple of Super Bowls as well. And before the Super Bowl era, the Cleveland Browns won championships. This new iteration of the Browns is terrible, and now they're stuck with a Deshaun Watson contract that is, not just an anchor around them, man. It's, I don't know, it's like 10 anchors at once that like cruise ships have.
I mean, that contract aged like milk. And it's smelling right now.
But the Jets, I don't know. Look, I'm looking at it's 1 week. But the Dolphins, the Pats, and the Bills all won. Pats were obviously it might have been the biggest surprise of the weekend, to be honest with you, considering they went to Cincinnati and won the football game.
That's what happens if you're the Bengals and your quarterback doesn't play or practice for 2 straight days because he has an injury that no quarterback has ever had in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, I'm worried about Joe Burrow, man. He's just hurt a lot.
And then your wide receiver had a hold in because he wants to be the highest paid receiver in the league.
Right.
Well, then catch more than 6 balls for 62 yards against the Patriots, buddy.
I'm pulling for Burrow to be okay, but I don't know. Something's up.
Something's very up.
Something's up.
I'm telling you, that's a very rare injury, and who knows if he's going to be the same again. I know modern medicine works some pretty cool modern miracles, but he didn't look great on Sunday. That offense looked pretty dysfunctional, and if they don't have that battery of Burrow and Chase Humming, I don't think the rest of the team is built, especially with the way their cap is structured, to be able to withstand them not being 100%.
But I come back around with the question, and again, it's rhetorical. How hurt is Christian McCaffrey? Because Christian McCaffrey, and I don't personally care about this, but I know gajillions of people do, and he is, I don't know, I mean, from what I heard this morning, he's one of like the 5 most popular fantasy players because he's got crazy statistics across the board.
Number 1 in every draft,
Yeah, so, that, and I know that doesn't matter to the Niners in terms of on-field production. It matters in the sense that between fantasy football and gambling, the league has now embraced both of those relative to a few years back when they were certainly pushing against gambling still. Mm-hmm. And let's face it, in some ways, fantasy football, especially daily fantasy, is a form of gambling. That matters to the league. And again, I'm not judging. Like I say, y'all, if you want to gamble, that's cool, man. I'm here for you.
Fantasy football's fun.
I played some FanDuel a few years back. Honestly, I don't have the. If I forgot to do something, I was like, oh well, I guess I'm not playing today. But it was fun. One of the things is though, I've told you this before. I don't like setting up a team where I might be in a position to be pulling for someone who's playing against my team.
Oh, that's actually a perfect situation. That's the emotional hedge, Jim.
Yeah, I can't do that. I get it, but I personally can't do that.
I have had some fantasy players that carved up my beloved New Orleans Saints and been like, you know what? This sucks. But if I'm going to have my heart ripped out of my chest, I would like to do it in order to get bragging rights over a friend of mine.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's fair.
It eases the pain a little bit. Not completely, but it's like putting aloe on a sunburn. It's not going to make the sunburn go away, but you know what I'm not going to feel for a couple hours? The sunburn.
We'll come back on the other side. If you thought that, well, hey, these all these court cases against the NFL, or excuse me, the NCAA, are like they've all been filed, right? And everything's now we're just waiting for like the verdicts and stuff, right? No, there's another one. I'll give you some details, and it's not just the NCAA that's a defendant in this one. That's what's kind of interesting. Details on the other side. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Welcome back into the postgame show. Yeah, y'all know when this bump comes on, I let it go for a bit. I'll probably get hollered at later, but that's all right.
It's worth the jam.
It's the Rolling Stones, and it's, again, probably my favorite Stones song. I do want to remind you that the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest is back. If Carolina can score a special teams touchdown in a game, somebody pockets $100 because that's how much is in there per game. But here's the thing. Hadn't had one yet. And now we're on to game 3. That means this weekend's pot is $300. But you have to register in order to be eligible to win. Go to 1075thegame.com and look for the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. That's all you got to do. And then hope that there's a special teams touchdown. Any kind.
Yeah. This could be
a return,
a fake.
Fake.
Almost
Anything.
had one in the first game.
Almost.
Just a little eager on the offensive line.
Okay, so this one's interesting. Don't know where it's going to go. I'm not a lawyer. But 4 former Michigan football players, including a couple of big names, Denard Robinson, quarterback, Braylon Edwards, who had a nice career at the next level, too, have filed a class action suit against the NCAA and the Big Ten Network, which is co-owned by Fox and the conference. It seeks more than $50 million for wrongfully and unlawfully denying the opportunity to earn money off name, image, and likeness. The lawsuit says that the NCAA and the network, quote, have systemically exploited these iconic moments. And it is on behalf, the lawsuit is on behalf of those who played for Michigan before 2016. Now, of course, NIL began in 2021. The House settlement goes back to athletes who played from 2016 until now, if you will, at least when the lawsuit was filed, which was 2020. There was a statute of limitations, which is why 2016 was the cutoff in that particular case. The lawsuit continues and says the NCAA knew for decades that preventing players from monetizing the one thing of value they have, their name, was wrong and unlawful. Today, they recognize that players should have that right. But what about all the past players who were unlawfully denied that right? The money made off those players' backs was in the hundreds of millions. The players never saw a dime. We are here to right that wrong. That was a statement from Jim Acho, who is the plaintiff attorney. The Big Ten Network and the NCAA have, as of yet, not replied publicly to this. I get what they're doing, and that statement I would basically agree with. But again, there are laws about statutes and limitations and things like that, and so I think listen. I believe that Jeffrey Kessler and those who filed in the House settlement on behalf of former players would have gone farther back if they could have. I think they went as far back as they could because nobody did anything prior. And I don't know how all the other settlements or suits, rather. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. It's interesting that they've chosen to go after the Big Ten Network as well.
I think that's the headline here. This is what makes us a little more unique as opposed to the other suits we've discussed.
And this is only for Michigan players. So now once you have a class action filed, again, if you're an attorney that knows I don't want to overstep my bounds, but can others join the class if they didn't go to Michigan? What if they went to Michigan State? What if they went to Indiana? What if they went to Purdue?
If we really want to stick it to the Big Ten and we want to really steal some valor, a la ACC, Southern Cal, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington need to get in on this too. They really do.
So hey, why not, man? I mean, they don't have a network to go after anymore.
No, because they killed it on their own.
I don't know what happens next on this. Like I say, the statement is right. The NCAA did know. There are more than enough. And listen, here's another one of those opportunities for us to say that the NCAA is not some giant, Death Star in Indianapolis that controls all. It is its member organizations and schools in the same, or member schools in the same way that any conference is. Yes, you have, a bureaucratic leadership structure. I get that. But there's very little that the NCAA does on its own. And anything that it does on its own is likely, clerical type stuff, not anything of major import.
It's kind of like a computer. It only does what you tell it to do.
Yeah, pretty much. So this is interesting to me, like I say, and that they're doing this now. Can't think the timing is completely coincidental, as this other lawsuit, especially, there's 3 that are being settled at once, but the House settlement is the one that has the big name attached to it. I can't think it's completely coincidental. Like, well, hey, while they're sitting there, fiddling around with that one, because remember last week, Judge Wilkins, a week ago today, said, yeah, I don't know if I like this. Y'all got 3 weeks to fix it. Well, 1 week in to fixing it, here comes another lawsuit. But there are some smart people that did know, I think we're probably breaking some laws. Shh.
Well,
just don't tell anybody.
Good thing about Denard Robinson being involved, it's September right now. It's when he's at his best. Wait till you get to November. Your chances of winning get greater.
Headlines of the day. More from Shane Beamer coming up.
Hey-o. From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to you. They're causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon. We have a disabled vehicle blocking the right lane on I-20 eastbound. That's just before the Clemson Road exit 80. We also have an accident on Windsor Lake Boulevard at Two Notch Road. That's a more minor traffic backup. And in Lexington County, we have 3 active ones right now. One on Highway 6 near Highway 602 and Platte Springs Road. Another one on Highway 6, but this one's near Crockett Road. And lastly, we have an accident reported within the last 23 minutes on US 321 near Mack Street.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Tuesday. Welcome back in. It's also the final hour of the postgame show. Along with Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Thank you so much for being with us. We will start with Carolina football. Shane Beamer holding his weekly news conference today ahead of Carolina hosting LSU. Game day in town as well. Shane had a lot to say about that. But we'll start with some football here because, as we know, while the Gamecocks won from a margin perspective very comfortably on Saturday in Lexington, there were still some things that the offense needs to improve upon, including the fact that while the Carolina defense, as we've talked about a lot, had 11 tackles for loss, the Kentucky defense against the Gamecocks had 12 tackles for loss. Here is Shane talking about that very aspect of the offense.
You got to eliminate the negative plays. We've had way too many negative plays in the first 2 games, and especially this week. You know, we're playing a defensive coordinator that was at Missouri the last 3 seasons and frankly embarrassed us the last 3 seasons with the number of negative plays. I think in 3 games we've had like 8 sacks and 24 tackles for loss, if I'm not mistaken, in the last 3 years. So the thing for us is we've had too many of those negative yardage plays on offense, and we certainly can't come out of this game on Saturday having 8 negative yardage plays. If so, it probably hasn't gone well for us on Saturday. So that's the good thing. I mean, that's the big thing. They're going to make some plays. I'm not saying that. I mean, they got really good players, so we're probably not going to have there's probably going to be some negative yardage plays, but we just can't have them where it's every possession we've got negative yardage plays. Just efficiency, efficient runs. Not every pass is going to be a 50-yard explosive down the field, but just being able to have efficient passes and stay on schedule as an offense will be key this week, and that's, to me, that's kind of the next step that we got to get better at.
And it is, you know, and what that looks like in terms of whether it's potential changes in personnel. Don't know about that as of yet. I will tell you that the new depth chart today basically has 4 of 5 starters cemented in at this point, if you will. Josiah Thompson at left tackle, Kamar Bell at left guard, Vershawn Lee obviously at center, and Cason Henry at right tackle. There is an or at the right guard spot with Torricelli Simpkins or Trovon Ball. Now, you don't want to sit there and go, oh, so then the trouble spot is right guard. You know, I don't know if that's what you're really looking at from that perspective either. And to be fair, as we talked about, this is still an offensive line unit, Elijah, that is coming together. You know, they had cohesion issues, if you will, and maybe some communication things against ODU. Last week, there's a couple of, you know, NFL dudes, including, as you pointed out, a guy that's going to go in the top half of the NFL draft next spring. And you do need to account for that to some degree. It isn't like, oh, well, Kentucky's terrible. How do we give up 12 tackles for loss? No, they're pretty good. Now you can't keep giving up 12 tackles for loss and expect to win football games.
Was a legit concern going into that game.
Yeah. But you found your ways and you know what it is that you've got to do to get better. One more from Shane here. We have more from Coach coming up in our 5:15 segment, but for now, one more from Shane. And staying with the offense and where progression can most quickly be made is Lenore Sellos just getting more comfortable with himself and with those around him. And he did have a much better day on Saturday. 10 of 23 in game one. He officially was 11 of 15. The team, 12 of 16. Robbie Ashford completed his only pass when he came in for that brief stint in the second quarter. But here's Shane on what he's seeing from Lenoris in terms of the game coming back to him.
Yeah, I think so. I thought he had a better week of practice last week throwing the football than what he did the week before going into the Old Dominion game. So in my mind, last week in practice, things started to be, continue to get more and more comfortable for him, and certainly that carries over to the game. And then you would hope it would be the same thing in practice as well the following week, this week. Because, every week we have a specific game plan. The way that Kentucky plays defense is different than the way that LSU plays defense. But we also try not to have just brand new offenses every week as far as scheme goes, So a lot of the same plays, the play that we scored on with Mazio, the first touchdown was literally the first play of the game against Old Dominion. We just went the other way. We rolled to the right, and Lenoris kept it. Saturday, we rolled to the left, and he threw it, but it's the same play, So I think as we continue to try and change how the play looks, formations and motions and things like that, but conceptually you're doing the same things. Like I said, every week is different. There's going to be new things that we do this week because it fits LSU better than it did Kentucky, but we try and keep the bulk of our offense the same week to week, run game and pass game. So there is a lot of carryover and continuity, and the more you do something, the more comfortable and confident you're going to get at it.
So we'll have more on the offense and some of the things Shane had to say. We saw progression. To what degree? And LSU is very, very talented. And even though they've lost a pretty big guy up front, they will still bring a lot of pressure. They certainly know what it is that Carolina is struggling with right now. We saw Lenoris escape some moments the other day. Saw Carolina get lucky a couple of times with awkward bounces of the ball that went their way instead of UK's way or whatever. So how much more progression do we expect this week? I'll let the experts decide that one. A lot of it you can see through the eye test. But
Certainly.
I expect South Carolina to be under some duress in the run and pass game from LSU based on what we've seen these last couple of weeks. How do you handle it?
And the most vulnerable part about that defense is going to be the run. If you go back and watch the game against Southern Cal, there were some plays made by some of the corners for LSU that played really physical, and they avoided touchdowns, quite frankly. And that was the most improved part about this defense, it looks like, from last year to this year, is that this defensive back unit seems to be more physical and maybe a little more competitive on those outside matchups. Mm-hmm. But Nicholls State, to their credit, a couple times and a couple drives, were able to march down the field pretty well by way of the run game. There was one play I like to allude to that was in the first quarter after LSU went up 9-0. Nicholls State is embarking on a drive, and they get deep into the red zone, and they're running a wildcat formation, which screams, we are going to run the football right here, right now on this play. And LSU lined up the box with 9 dudes, and Nicholls State still pushed the pile forward and got about 6 yards right next to the goal line. They scored a play later. They did that a lot during that game. And if there's anything to take away outside of LSU pulling away late that you can be like, oh, that might be your roadmap, it could be the run defense. So in terms of what you can fix from one week to the next, if you can even just get the fundamental part of blocking and able to get it to where it's 2 yards before Rocket Sanders gets contacted, right? You can do some damage in this game, and you can end up hanging around and winning this thing.
Continuing our integrated media headlines of the day, we go to the NFL. The league it is reviewing another lawsuit that has been filed this week that accuses Deshaun Watson of sexual assault and battery back in October of 2020. Says Brian McCarthy from the NFL, quote, "We are reviewing the complaint. We will look into the matter under the personal conduct policy, not looking at the commissioner's exempt list as there's been no formal charges and the league's review has just begun." According to this lawsuit, which was filed in Harris County, Texas, the actions occurred before Watson and a woman who is just listed as Jane Doe were set to have dinner at the woman's apartment. It says that Watson managed to get her phone number, attempted to have her meet him for a date. She was reluctant to meet in public. They went to her apartment instead, and on the evening, she said Watson had trouble finding her and became aggressive, and goes into further detail that you can find. It's just the latest in a long line. Again, I'm not here to condemn. This is a very early stage in this, but the list is long against Deshaun Watson. And again, could be something, could be nothing. We don't know as of yet. Is this something Deshaun may have already known about? I saw one, something go by on Twitter earlier. Is this why he didn't have a good game the other day? Look, I don't know.
Yeah. It's a fool's errand to try to crack into his psyche as to whether or not he played poorly. But that's it. If you end up going and reading the allegation, it's bad enough to where we cannot read it all here on air. I'll say that much, just to spare people details. You go read through the entire thing, you'll understand why we cannot read all.
Yeah, no, I gotta stop.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really, really bad. And this only makes the contract the Cleveland Browns did with, but when Jimmy Haslam held the press conference, said, we were very thorough with all the background information. This is something that's been in the works since 2020. I guess he didn't dig far enough with his proverbial shovel.
I don't know. I just, I think you're probably right to some degree. I just think, too, they probably dug a little more deeply than we might imagine.
Or they dug.
I just think they're so desperate.
Anything.
They're so desperate. And the word has been for a while, Deshaun didn't want, because remember, he rebuffed him a couple of times. He didn't want to play for them. And it's not about, like living in Cleveland or anything like that. I don't think he wanted to play for that organization. And I've heard before that he wanted to go back home and hopefully try to land a spot with the Falcons. And the Falcons had no interest. Certainly not at anywhere close to the numbers that Deshaun's people were throwing around. And I don't blame Mr. Blank for doing that. But I think Jimmy Haslam was so desperate when he spent all those billions to buy the Browns. Well, I got to have somebody do something here, and let's make some news. Let's make some noise. Let's get some, and, well, here we are. That's all you can say is here we are. So we'll see where this one goes. But, again, there are more details. We're not trying to hide anything from you, but the rest of it, if you are interested, you can read for yourself wherever you find your sports news. Continuing our headlines of the day, the Atlanta Braves lost last night in a very lackluster performance. Nick Martinez of the Cincinnati Reds. This was a makeup game from a rainout earlier in the season when both teams had an off day. The Braves lost 1-0 last night. Nick Martinez, 7 innings, just allowed 2 hits for the Reds, and at one point retired 17 straight Atlanta Braves. Atlanta still 12 games over. That's the good news. Bad news is that they are now out of the playoffs if the season ended today. Just 1 game behind the New York Mets for the final National League playoff spot, 4 games in front of Chicago. Braves open a 3-game set in D.C. tonight against the Nats. I would urge them to win the series.
Would this be factually correct that for the first time since June, you would say that the Braves are out of the playoff picture completely? Because it's something they've flirted with for a few weeks now, and it is now a reality.
Well, yeah, I mean, they haven't, because they've been in it the whole time.
Yeah, I don't think, and that, obviously I'm not counting like the first 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, I know June,
right.
I think this probably is the first time that they are out of the playoff picture completely.
Yeah.
Has to be.
So just 1 game, but only about 20 to go, give or take. So
That's still plenty of time for things to go right or very terribly wrong.
Yeah, let me see real fast here if I have time here. Yeah, I do. Let me see when the Braves next play the New York Metropolitans. I think they've still got some games left with them. Yes, they have 3 with New York in Atlanta. the final week of the season. Not the final series of the season, but the final week of the season.
So the next to last series.
Yeah. But they've also got 4 games in Atlanta with L.A. this weekend. Then they go back to Cincinnati, then to Miami, who, again, beat you the other day, shouldn't have. Then New York and Kansas City to close it out. The schedule is favorable, other than the Dodgers. The schedule is favorable.
Which is a silver lining.
Unfortunately, the Braves can't score runs. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and tell you that in order to win games, you do still need to score more runs than the other team.
Bold. I will say that you know how many games you're going to win if you score the same amount of runs you did last night?
Yeah, none.
The same amount of runs that you scored last night. Yeah. Those numbers, it's a double entendre.
That's our headlines of the day, brought to you by Integrated Media, 803-948-8327. Home theater like no one else in this part of the world. Trust me on that. You need to call my good friends at Integrated Media. More from Shane Beamer on the other side. It's the Postgame Show. Guys, as we get older, it might not feel like ourselves. Could be, physical. Could be a little mental at times, a little brain fog. Like, wait, what was all that about? Am I feeling like me anymore? Is the answer no? If you're wondering why, don't wait for it to change. Don't wait for it to go away. Instead, set up a time to see Dr. Dan Balknight and his team at the Men's Clinic. You'll get a one-on-one consultation that, Doc will get to know you. Talk about what's going on in your life, what's not going on in your life, and find where those gaps are and get you back to feeling like you used to. Get to the root of the problem. No such thing as a one-size-fits-all treatment at the Men's Clinic. Learn more when you go to themensclinicsc.com, then set up a time to go see him. 803-875-MENS. Dan Balknight and his team at the Men's Clinic. Welcome back into the post-game show. I want to remind you to get tickets for Sips and Sounds. It's unlimited sampling of over 40 brands of local and national craft beer, wine, seltzers, and spirits, plus live performances by Ken and Drew from Sister Hazel, Dazer, the Donovan Twins. It's on the off week, too, so, no excuses.
That's right.
Saturday, the 28th of September, you can get your unlimited tasting wristband now when you log on to sipsandsoundscola.com.
When you say unlimited, you mean not just like Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited. Ha ha, he says he's unlimited, but he's very limited. It's like a real unlimited.
That's what it says, man.
Don't tempt me with a good time,
brother.
brother.
I suppose if somebody ran out, there's limits, but other than that,
because unlimited seems like it is flowing.
If somebody runs out, I guess you're making a beer run.
That's right. The plan is that it's not me, because I would have already tested the limits of our capacities.
Sure. Before we hear more from Coach Beamer, do want to congratulate Dawn Staley and her women's basketball team. They, along with the Connecticut men's basketball team, honored at the White House today. President Biden saying, quote, "I know why you're so good. You got a girl from Philly running this team. I married a Philly girl. You don't screw around with a Philly girl, man. They're tough." So there you go.
I bet Don ate that up.
Dr. Jill Biden from Philadelphia, as is Coach Staley, obviously. They grew up about 20 miles apart from one another, according to what I read earlier.
Very nice.
And they're buds now. They were hanging at the Olympics.
Very nice. Yeah, Dawn was very active at the Olympics. She had a fun
living her best
experience.
life, man.
Yeah, I'm envious. That looked like a lot of fun.
We'll talk to our good friend David Cloninger, who was covering the event at the White House today. Hope David.
They let David in the White House.
I was going to say,
dangerous game, brother. Dangerous game.
He must have given him somebody else's passport.
I mean, there's some type of alias that was used. You know what? We could lead off with that. David Cloninger, what was the alias you used to clear security to get in?
Bobby Cox. That's what he did. He wore his old Braves hat.
Wow, that hat is old enough. It is definitely.
Looks like Bobby Cox.
You are Bobby Cox, sir. Come on in.
Yeah.
Did not know you were a South Carolina fan or a journalist.
But I know the ladies had a very nice time today. Good stuff. They got to do, in the big room there with the president, and then they got to go to the press room. It was cool. That's cool. I hadn't been to the White House in a long time. I went when I was a
Never
kid.
Been. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's all right. Next time I'll go is when I actually become president. But I'm not running this time.
No, this time.
Nope.
You still have time.
Oh, yeah.
To figure it out.
I'm good.
You're just going to run on one issue, and that is the issue of college football not having a preseason.
Nah, if I run on any issue in sport, it's going to be, will you please, NFL, go ahead and start your bleeping minor league. And don't tell me it's college, because it's not.
You might win the Dakotas with that stance, because you know who might be getting those teams? The Dakotas.
Oh, yeah?
They like football.
Yeah, they do like football.
Not very represented in the National Football League itself.
Shane Beamer speaking today ahead of Carolina LSU. Cut one on the list, please, Elijah Campbell. This was a little bit longer, but what does it mean to Shane, to his players, to the program that game day is back for the first time in a decade?
No, I do. I can remember, watching it for sure, but then being at Virginia Tech in 99, that was my senior year of college, and that was the year we went undefeated and played for the national championship, and game day came to Blacksburg, I think twice that year for Syracuse and the Miami games, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember what a huge deal that was, that game day is coming to Virginia Tech. And then over the years, getting to know Kirk Herbstreit on a personal level, and getting to know Chris Fowler and Reese Davis now, and Pat McAfee in the last couple years, getting to know those guys has been cool. And then certainly I'm a fan whenever we're in the hotel on game days, home or away. I'm watching it if we're not in meetings or eating or whatever we do as a team, because I'm just a college football fan and enjoy watching it without a doubt. I remember in 2010 when they were here when we played Alabama, I think we had an off week the week before because we had lost to Auburn, if I'm not mistaken, the week before. And I remember we were working that Sunday, and I think I told you guys Sunday night, I ran in the subway over here on Assembly Street to get lunch. And I remember coming out of Subway and my wife telling me that it had just been announced that game day was coming to Columbia for the Alabama game 6 days later, and how exciting that was. And it's the same feeling now as well as the head coach. So it's awesome for our community, and great that they're coming here. And now we need to make sure they walk out of here saying that's a place we need to come back to, and we need to do our part to play well and make it a memorable day.
You could probably go back if you feel like, filtering through a bunch of tweets, but I can remember tweeting something to the effect of, it felt a little bit different that day, and it did when Carolina played Alabama. That was a good football team that South Carolina had. It was obviously a very good team that Alabama had. And people were really just amped for it. And again, game day had been prior, and they've been since to Columbia. So, I don't want to put too much on like, boy, that's going to guarantee you a little bit extra oomph for the game. But I think it does bring something. I've had friends hitting me up, via text, with who, like guest picker and stuff like that, and where they're going to be and what details do I know. And I was like, hey, you'll learn when I learn. Like, I don't, and like today, if you missed it, Jeff Crane was on. So if you want to listen to that, Jeff is the deputy AD at Carolina, and the football administrator had some details on what's going on. And we'll go over those again for you, by the way, coming up in just a little bit. By the way, speaking of the guest picker, let me go back to this, Elijah, because I know you have already commented. But we have our one of our listeners who tweets at us a lot, David, said, can I purpose a pie to the face bet for the guest picker? I say it's Dawn Staley. Care to partake? And I had already mentioned to our buddy John that I figured it was Dawn. So, and quite honestly, if you were asking me who should it be, I would tell you Dawn. Now, John said that Quincy Hall is a good choice. And I don't know how much time Quincy gets to spend around Carolina anymore. I mean, he trains all over the place these days. You win a gold medal, you're doing a lot of things in other parts of the world these days.
Wheaties photo shoots.
But it is that is a fine choice, Quincy winning a gold medal this summer as a Gamecock. But I'll be surprised if it's not Dawn.
Yeah, in a way.
Dawn's riding the wave, man.
I mean, she's arguably the most top two most popular figures in women's sports, and the other one she beat to win a national championship.
I think so.
I think it's pretty fair to say in terms of popularity.
You could have like Asia come back for a day.
Would be cool, but she's in the midst of a
they're getting ready to start the playoffs, right?
They're gearing up.
Yeah, so I don't think they're doing that.
Timing wouldn't work.
Maybe. You could.
It would be pretty cool. Yeah. It would make it even cooler.
Those two were the ones I thought of. I mean, and I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, it can't be Darius or something like that. I mean, if Darius, I don't know.
Well, we can eliminate us. We can eliminate Jeff, and we'll eliminate Carrot Top. I feel pretty good about that one. So we can go and start eliminating people, and then that might narrow down who it can be in our guess for guest picker.
Well, all along I've been thinking that it's Dawn. And my second, again, like I said, my second thought when I was starting that process the other day was Asia. That's so. Yeah. And they would both. I think they'd both. For Asia, it would be pretty cool.
It'd be awesome. Yeah, that'd be really, really.
Because then she could also go like, with the high school like a mile down the road.
And I'm the greatest women's basketball player in the world right now.
And that.
Oh, and I grew up right down the road.
Yeah, and I went to high school a mile down the road. So we'll see. We'll see. Drive around the SEC. More from Shane. We got not one, not two, but 3 conference games this weekend, y'all. Starting to heat up. Drive around the SEC is next. Football season is here. It means finding the best way to watch the big game. Now, listen, if you're not at the ballpark, the best way, as I've told you before, and I firmly believe, is with an amazing home theater system from Integrated Media. Just one call, Integrated comes to you, gets you installed with the latest in 4K technology from Samsung, from Sony. Amazing Dolby surround sound systems throughout the house. It really is like you're part of the action. But you may say, Jay, I want to go outdoors as well. I'm glad you do, because Integrated Media installs outdoor home theater built around the Samsung Terrace TV, enhanced with Sonos outdoor speaker systems that look and sound just like anything inside does. Trust me on this one. One room, whole house, outdoors, Wi-Fi that works everywhere all the time. No better way to watch your team and be part of the action than with Integrated Media. Call them up. 803-948-8327. Feel like you are there with Integrated Media.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways this Tuesday afternoon, but we're going to start off with some good news, because good news is cool, and that is that an incident has been cleared on I-20 eastbound over at South Carolina 277 near exit 73. So traffic's moving much better through there. We still have some active accidents, though, that are causing some active traffic backups. Starting on I-20 westbound before Monticello Road near exit 68, we have two on 20 eastbound, one of which will be at Wilson Boulevard near exit 71, the other on Alpine Road near exit 76B. Got another one on Forum Drive at Fashion Drive, and lastly, an accident recently reported on Highway 1 at Augusta Road at Laurel Road.
It is drive around the SEC time. We'll come back around to some sound from Coach Beamer in just a second. I'll let Elijah set up one of the questions that he asked of the South Carolina head coach a little bit earlier. But we do have another pretty full weekend of action in the conference, including 2 other conference games. Last week, Carolina-Kentucky, the standalone as the first conference game of the season. The other 2 conference games this weekend are Georgia at Kentucky. Georgia opened as 21-point favorites. That spread is up to 24. And we have what is really a game, I would say, that has a very similar feel to what the Carolina-Kentucky game was on Saturday, but with a little more desperation in the air for both in the A&M at Florida game. The loser will be 1-2. The loser will also be like, I thought it was going to be better than this. Now, if A&M loses, they're like, oh, we're going to fire Mike Elko. They're not doing that.
Yeah, they're not David Tepper.
A&M is favored in this game by 4.
Ooh.
If Florida loses to A&M and they start the season, 0-1 in conference play, I'm not suggesting they should, but, look, the burner is on high now under Billy's seat. There's really no other way to look at it. Winning only turns the heat down. It doesn't turn it off. But I guess you see the point. I don't want to compare it like apples to apples, but we talked about it so much through the entire summer. Man, that Carolina-Kentucky game is just so pivotal, even if it's game 1 of 8. Mm-hmm. Because the loser, both have hard schedules. And we talked about it, too. They both host big-time programs the next week. We knew that all summer. Kentucky gets Georgia, Carolina gets LSU, both of whom we thought would be contending for national championships and may still be. Georgia certainly is. And if LSU wins this game, as people expect them to, they are favored after all, then they are fine. They're 1-0 in conference play, and they will get their season, if you will, back on track after what I would call a good loss against Southern California. But in terms of this A&M Florida game, again, A&M fans will start to be just whatever, even though I think if Florida wins, I'll be like, well, A&M, what'd y'all expect? You're A&M. You are going to lose a few games a year because that's what you do.
Yeah, one's just more pivotal for one coach than the other. But in terms of the team, A&M's got a pretty tough schedule, too, compared to maybe the rest of the SEC, especially when you look at, Missouri. But it's one of those things, too, especially considering how bad A&M looked in that first loss where Connor Wegman only throws 100 yards. It's really difficult to foresee them being competitive in a lot of games if that type of mess still carries over. But you're right, for Florida, for Billy Napier, it'd be catastrophic because there's no easy part of the schedule other than Samford, which they took care of last week. Congratulations. But now it's only going to get harder, and you're having to figure out a lot more things too. It's not just like, oh my God, we got to prepare for all these elite, high-level SEC programs. We got to figure out what the quarterback position's like, too. Is Graham Mertz going to be healthy enough to play? If he is, do you play him? Because DJ Lagway played pretty well.
Well, he says he's going to play, too. If Mertz can go, he says they're going to both play.
No.
Billy.
Oh, have you learned nothing?
Yeah.
Oh,
what are you doing, man? What are you doing? If your starter is ready to go, you play your starter.
Until he throws pick number 3 in the first half, and then you can get him booed out of the stadium, and then you're off the hook.
Yeah, but you don't create an unnecessary competition and controversy.
Mm-hmm.
Just you don't. Again, that's a fool's errand at that point in time. But if he does, I wouldn't have even said that. I don't know why he went there. They'll both play. Why?
As somebody who's so not fun to listen to, Billy Napier has done a really good job of putting his foot in his mouth over the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Mertz is a good quarterback. I'm not telling you Mertz is a great quarterback, an elite quarterback. I'm telling you that Graham Mertz is a good quarterback. And again, I believe he led the conference in completion percentage last season. He knows what he's doing. He's your starter. He's earned it through spring and summer, despite the fact that you got a 5-star kid. And nothing against the 5-star kid who looked okay against, a double-A team the other day. But you're digging the hole even deeper, and it's like, bro, you can't get out of this hole anyway yet.
It's such a mess.
Why make it any deeper on yourself? But that's a pretty big one. We got some other good ones too. But again, A&M favored in the Swamp by 4. That's the 3:30 game this weekend. Bama at Wisconsin. at noon on Saturday. Big opportunity for Wisconsin, who has started the season 2-0, but they're 16-point underdogs at home. I expect Bama to win, but I probably expect Wisconsin to cover.
Maybe. I just haven't seen enough out of Wisconsin.
And
it's been a mess.
There are some other ones. We'll talk about them more throughout the week. But BC is at Missouri this weekend, and it was funny. We were kind of, at the beginning of the year, I was like, oh man, everybody has to have a mandated Power 4 opponent on their schedule, and you and I this summer were like, oh, Missouri, your schedule's so easy. You get Boston College. But all of a sudden, Boston College goes and thumps FSU. But here's the thing. Missouri is a 17-point home favorite, man.
Yeah, and that's the only game that features 2 ranked teams this entire weekend.
Isn't that crazy?
It's a little bit of a bummer, and we fell, rear backwards into it.
Yeah. I expect Missouri to win that one.
They should.
Yeah.
They absolutely should. It would be very funny if they didn't, but they should.
Is it wrong that I may be pulling for Boston College when I'm not really supposed to pull in my job other than for a few things here?
Well, if doing it is wrong, I don't want to be right.
There you go. I'll let you set up the question that you asked Coach Beamer today, because I do think this one has a high level of relevance.
Definitely. I was curious to hear his thoughts on what he's noticed about the LSU defense from last year to this year. And I led off the question with LSU's defensive struggles last year being very well documented. It's the reason they have a new defensive coordinator this year. And it's the reason they're paying $2 million plus per year for said defensive coordinator in Blake Baker. So even despite the small sample size that we have in 2024 with just the 2 games against Southern Cal and Nicholls State, I asked Coach Beamer what he has seen on tape that's a little different for this year's LSU's defense than last year's not so great looking LSU defense.
Yeah, haven't watched, other than just personnel, haven't watched a ton of last year's. I've watched more 2023 Missouri defense than 2023 LSU defense, just because schematically we're going to see more Missouri. But certainly I watch it for personnel because they got a lot of the same players. I think the thing that jumps off tape is just the effort they play with. They've brought in not just Coach Baker from Missouri, but brought in, Texas's defensive line coach and brought in some other people, and those guys are playing with great effort. I mean, there's a play against Southern Cal where Southern Cal double teams one of the defensive tackles for LSU, takes him to the ground, but then the D tackle gets up and he's the guy that makes the tackle for like a 2-yard gain. I mean, it's just the effort they're playing with, and then you can tell they have a lot of confidence in what they're doing. They've got good players, and they're out there playing with great confidence and playing fast and getting lined up and going and playing and utilizing their abilities.
I don't want to say they're licking their chops, because that's not what I mean. But they're going to look at what Kentucky was able to do. And, again, see 12 tackles for loss. See that 3rd and 12 starting position on third down plays. See 3 for 10 on third down overall. And say, okay, we can do this and then some. And it's really going to be on Carolina to make that biggest improvement, up front. Lenoris did see the game slow down last week. Can that continue when they will want to speed him up? There's the rub, right?
Yeah, these 2 defensive lines that are playing in this game on Saturday are having 2 different types of what I call measuring stick games. For South Carolina, it's you looked ungodly against Kentucky and otherworldly. That if you can do something even remotely close to that against this LSU offensive line, you can do it against anyone. For LSU, a defensive line that struggled against the run at times, Southern Cal ran on them pretty well. Nicholls State, of all teams, ran on them pretty well. If you can't at least be able to force some tackle for loss and force a team whose average third down was 3rd and 12 against Kentucky, then you can't at least force them to struggle on offense, then you might struggle once again like you did last year. 2 different types of measuring stick games.
Hey, you want to go see Alice Cooper and Rob Zombie tomorrow night in Charlotte? I'm not asking Elijah. I'm asking you out there. Caller 5 tomorrow night. Alice Cooper, Rob Zombie in Charlotte. I'll give you a pair of tickets. Caller 5, 803-404-6100. Good luck. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay and Elijah with you. Final few minutes here. Who are we congratulating? Going to see Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper.
Shout out Marcus. Marcus is our ticket winner.
Way to go, man. Good stuff. I've never seen Alice Cooper.
I've heard of Alice Cooper. I've heard the songs.
Heard of Alice Cooper.
I've never gone smoking in the boys' room.
No. School's Out.
Smoking ain't allowed.
Frankenstein. You got some hits. Back
Yeah,
in the day.
definitely.
Great appearance in Wayne's World.
Most importantly, the appearance in Wayne's World.
Amelia Walke. What is it? Which means the good land or whatever he says. But it's great.
That's another one I need to refreshen on. Like I saw it like many times as a kid.
Wayne's World's fun, man. Both of them were good. Now, as for Mike Myers films, I am a huge, or as Al Michaels would say, huge Austin Powers fan. Big time. Original, still the best. 2 and 3 are very funny.
I've only seen The Spy Who Shagged Me, which is a classic.
That is 2.
Is that 2?
Yeah. Because you got just, original
OG.
Spy Who Shagged Me with Heather Graham
Yes.
and Rob Lowe. And then Goldmember with Beyonce.
Yes, definitely.
Which is very funny.
Not far after.
That was actually, I think that one's actually better than 2.
Really?
Well,
2's pretty damn fun.
They're all 3, but
So that sets the bar really high.
But I want another one. I don't know. I mean, Mike Myers, man, he's just raking in checks. He's done all right for himself.
It makes up for the Love Guru.
Well, he's just, he's just made all these Shreks now. And I guess is there another Shrek coming?
Probably.
I know there's Eddie Murphy's going to do a donkey movie. But guess who the executive producer and owner of all those IP stuff is? It's Mike Myers.
Swimming in it.
Yeah, Mike Myers has done quite well for himself. But anyway, all right. I'm glad we got to talk about Alice Cooper and got us into Austin Powers.
And we had Shrek references.
And Shrek.
Shrek references.
Shrek's fun, man.
Oh, it's the best.
It's king,
the best.
John Larroquette as the king, the little, or prince, I guess, whatever he is. He's great. Donkey's awesome. Antonio Banderas as Puss in Boots is great.
It's fantastic.
So good.
I
the Puss in Boots movie was pretty good, man.
Not bad.
It was
Not
pretty
bad.
good.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's a great character.
Yeah.
But to me, it's the first one. The first one's the best one. It's so hard to beat that first one. There are not many movies on this planet that I could quote beginning to end. Like if you made me locked me in a room, made me type out the entire dialogue of an entire film, there's 3 or 4 I can maybe do that for. Shrek is on there.
Yeah.
The OG Shrek.
It's a good one. Before we get out of here, something novel is happening this weekend, Elijah.
I love novels.
There are schools that have left conferences, and then their rivals are in another conference now. And instead of not playing and whining about it, they're going to play games. Can you believe that? I mean, how crazy is that?
Very adult of them.
But the Apple Cart, Washington State, and the Civil War, Oregon State, both taking place out west this weekend. I believe they're both, at Washington and at Oregon. So I'm looking at you, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, who tell me, well, we can't play each other because, we're not in the same conference anymore. Stop it. Again, well, our schedule is made. Stop it.
Unmake it.
Cancel a game. I don't care which one. Cancel a game. Pay the buyout. Lord knows both of y'all got more than enough cash sitting around. And if not, go find some Digger Barnes wildcatter and get you a new oil well and get you some more cash. This is not hard.
Now, if you're Oklahoma State, you're like, well, it does help that Oregon State and Washington State actually just need people to play them because everyone abandoned them in their conference. And if they don't have these games, they can't fill out a full schedule.
Those 4 schools got together when this was announced and said the one thing we're not going to do is disappoint the fans of our state. We're going to keep playing regardless. Texas and Texas A&M didn't have to stop. It was purely done for spite.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma and Oklahoma State are no longer playing one another purely because of spite. It's not anything else. Handing me the line of, well, the schedule's full. Again, Just stop it. At least come up with something better. I don't know what you could come up with that's any better, but that's lame. So
You come up with lamer stuff. But
looking at you, Bedlam game, you need to get it back on the schedule as quickly as possible. Like, heck, I don't know. I'd cancel whatever they got coming up in the next month.
I'm sure fans would have loved this past weekend to watch Oklahoma State, Oklahoma instead of Oklahoma and Houston.
Yeah. Or even Oklahoma State, Arkansas, which, you realize those schools are like 2 hours apart or something, but still. But kudos to you, states of Oregon and Washington and your 4 big public schools for doing what's right and continuing, a centuries-long tradition.
It's the least you could do after blowing up your own league.
Well, got to look out for everybody else here. Lots more to do tomorrow. Coordinators will speak as we get closer to Carolina LSU. Thanks to Jeff Crane for joining us, Ryan Brewer as well. For Elijah, I'm Jay. See you.